It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Yes, I'm back, and I'm excited because we got a great panel for you. Mike Elgin's here, Paris Martineau from The Information, Nate Langston from Bloomberg.com. There is lots to talk about. Okay, forgive me. We've got to start with a little Elon Twitter talk, but we're not going to stop with that. We have many other things to talk about, including why Prince Charles smells so good. And Nate, by the way, agrees. And why parrots love Zoom. Yes, it's all coming up next. That and a lot more on Twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 924, recorded Sunday, April 23rd, 2023. 3 spiders a night. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Worldwide Technology. With an innovative culture, thousands of IT engineers, application developers, unmatched labs, and integration centers for testing and deploying technology at scale, WWT helps customers bridge the gap between strategy and execution. To learn more about WWT, visit wwt.com/twit. And by Grammarly. The right tone can move any project forward when you get it just right with Grammarly. Go to Grammarly.com/twit to download and learn more about Grammarly Premium's advanced tone suggestions. And by Mint Mobile. Inflation is everywhere, whether it's gas, utilities, or your favorite streaming services. Thankfully, Mint Mobile can give you a much-needed break. Get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free when you go to mintmobile.com/twit. And by Noom. Stop chasing health trends and build sustainable, healthy habits with Noom's psychology-based approach. And don't forget to check out Noom's first ever book, The Noom Mindset, a deep dive into the psychology of behavior change. Available to buy now wherever books are sold. And don't forget to sign up for your trial at Noom.com/twit. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news. Yes, I'm back. Leo Laporte, and joining me, some of my best friends, my best buddies from the tech journalism industry, like Mr. Mike Elgin of Elgin.com.
Hello,
and guest
Leo.
Yes?
Hello. We both just arrived, or we're both just traveling. So
You just arrived in Mexico City. That's the difference. I've just arrived in Petaluma. Not quite the same.
That's right. Yes.
Not quite the same. Where did you arrive from, Mike?
Oaxaca. And
nice.
Hanging out with somebody you know.
My boy.
That was a lot of fun.
Salt Hank's down there. He's thanks to you and Amira, he's got a 1-month apprenticeship with Chef Alejandro Ruiz, Chef Alex, who's the...
And he took to the Oaxaca food scene like a dolphin to the waves, Leo, I have to say. It was breathtaking.
I was thrilled because Chef Alex made him start by working as a busboy.
That's right. Well, before that, we all went camping with Chef Alex and some other chefs, and it was just awesome. I mean...
Oh, I'm so glad he's doing that. Thank you for helping me.
I told you that. It was
get my boy off.
A pleasure.
Yeah, he's get him off and running in his career as a cookbook author. He's going to do a whole chapter on Oaxaca. Isn't he fun?
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
sincerely.
Our pleasure.
Also here, ladies and gentlemen, from the brand new Bloomberg original show, AIIRL, Nate Langston of Bloomberg. He is the host of this new Bloomberg series, which you can see on YouTube. He's also the host of Text Message, the podcast. Hi, Nate.
Hello. Thanks for having me back. I feel like it's been too long.
It has. I'll tell you how long it's been. Metallica came out with a new album since we've had you on last.
Yes, they have, because it was the other day and it's rather good. But yes, thank you for having me back. I'm still rocking the Bloomberg stuff, but now making a TV show there as well.
That's really exciting. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Also about a fun event in London yesterday. But that's coming up. First, let's say hello to Brooklyn's own Paris Martineau of The Information. Hi, Paris.
Hello.
Hey.
I have not been traveling, nor do I have drums behind me, but I am here nonetheless.
You're cool anyway, in every respect.
It's true. I'm just bringing the personality.
That's it. Bring the
That's why
personality.
I'm here.
Great to have you. I've been gone. I don't know. Did anything happen this week? Did Elon Musk do
We
anything?
could just end the podcast here. Nothing happened.
Great piece in Politico, which I honestly want to honor, because I think it was completely right on, saying we in the press are being completely used by Elon Musk. The thought piece from Jack Schaefer: Elon Musk figured out the media's biggest weakness. Here's why the press falls for his stunts every time. This is Jack is a Politico senior media writer, and of course, I do have to point out, Jack, you got an entire column out of Elon Musk, so But his point is well taken, which is that Elon has said publicly many times, I don't want to pay for advertising. So he understands the best way to get free advertising is to say outrageous things, something he learned probably from our last president, and he's going to get a lot of coverage. And some of the stuff, like I was not going to do, he said last week, I'm going to start a new AI called Truth. Was it Truth GPT or Truth AI?
Truth
GPT.
Truth GPT that is only factual. And of course, there's so many things to say about this, but mostly not going to happen. So like, this is Schaefer's point. It's just Elon is very good at getting the press to cover every little doo-doo that comes out of his mouth.
Well, the downside is that so many people are disgusted by his trolling and his sort of irresponsible way that he operates in the world that they don't want to buy a Tesla anymore. They are less excited about SpaceX. They certainly are soured on Twitter for the most part. And he actually went on Tucker Carlson and said all kinds of crazy stuff. Like he said that he wants to create Truth GPT so that there'll be an AI that cares about people and will take care of us. Because
please.
The reason they'll care about people is because people are an interesting part of the universe. And if his AI understands how the universe works, it will appreciate. It's just BS, just fodder for the, falling into the Tucker Carlson kind of like manufactured craziness industry. And it's just he said that to Twitter, he said that ChatGPT is programmed by left-wing experts and therefore is trained to lie. I mean, it was an outrageous interview.
And he knows that. And it's not, I think it's complete manipulation, which I'm sad to say we keep falling for. I hate that. But at the same time, please give me a justification. Paris, we need to cover this stuff, right?
If you're asking me to be the Elon Musk defender on the panel, I'm going to have to respectfully decline. But I will say, I mean, it seems as though this is not a new trend. Elon Musk has been saying outlandish things that he's not going to deliver on and attracting press attention for years and years now. The only thing that has changed used to be that Twitter was one of the primary mediums in which he would be able to stake these claims. And he was able to kind of gamify his presence on Twitter to, have wild swings in Tesla's stock, have
Dogecoin, put Dogecoin up.
In Dogecoin,
yeah.
Or all of these different business ventures. But now he owns that platform and is tanking it. And I think that is going to impact his ability to be taken seriously, and I say that I guess in air quotes, in the media with all of his other outlandish claims, as well as have his normal level outlandish claims reach the intended audience in the platform that he's now purchased.
So I'm tempted. There's two different directions I could go here. I guess I'll stick with Elon for a little bit, and I apologize, folks. I really do. But I do want to talk about AI as well, especially since, Nate, you've got a new show about AI. And what I think is Elon's clear misunderstanding, whether intentional or not, of how AI works. But first, let's talk about what happened at Twitter, because I guess we kind of
we've got to talk about what happened yesterday.
Yeah. So I, like many others, lost my blue check. I couldn't care less. I don't use Twitter. I'm on Mastodon like you, Mike. But I lost it on, I think it was Friday. Everybody lost their blue checks.
Thursday. 420. You cannot forget that.
Oh, it was 420. Did he do it at 420?
He wanted to do it on 420 because that's the weeb number, and it's very fun.
Because he's a
master
troll.
comedian.
Oh my!
He also
God.
launched a rocket that blew up, but it was a success on 420.
Yeah.
Very important.
Another story. See, he's willing to blow up a multi-million-dollar rocket to get in the news. I guess we're going to have to give it to him. We'll get to that in a little bit. Blue checks went away. Then Elon, in a masterful link-baity move, announced that he was going to, and I'm putting this in air quotes, pay for LeBron James and Stephen King's blue check so that, I don't know what. And then all of a sudden, blue checks have been coming back today for people with more than 1 million followers.
I think that it's worth going back even a second, is he didn't announce that he was going to be paying for these people's checks. People like Stephen King or people associated with LeBron James were all of a sudden like, hey, is Stephen King paying for the blue check? What's going on?
Because it says that, right? On the blue check, it says.
And
this
Elon
person's
started
paid
replying, hey, I've paid for a couple of select celebrities. It was mostly the people who had complained about the whole blue check payment system to begin with. And
Right,
then
they're
with
called
what happened yesterday,
marks.
I don't know if you noticed this because you were, out vacationing, Leo. The whole giving blue checks to everybody with over 1 million followers, asterisk, yesterday started with Drill, poster extraordinaire, and a couple of other people started this Block the Blue campaign where you would go through, try to find people who have paid for blue checks and block them, basically making fun of this new verification.
Which, by the way, seems like a reasonable thing to do. I mean, honestly,
people should be able to use Twitter in whatever way they want to.
All right, I guess that's
fine.
fair.
If they don't,
Okay.
but if they want to block people, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, to each their own.
Well, the fact is that in many circles, a blue check mark is now a mark of shame. And so he's giving it to the people who believe that, so that they are shame. And also there are tools emerging that block people who have the blue check mark, and therefore the people who are cheerleading this trend are themselves being blocked by these tools. And so it's a massive troll, as is so many things that Elon Musk does on Twitter. It's a huge troll, and it's kind of disgusting. It may be even illegal because it implies you can't basically say that somebody endorses something that they oppose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I've noticed that there are people because the blue check says you paid for Twitter Blue. When you give it, when you put it on somebody's account who did not, it is in fact saying they endorse it, and that's illegal. So
the guy who's claiming to create Truth GPT is lying again.
Yeah. What a surprise.
Yeah. And I think that it's also, obviously it's a private business. He can do what he wants. But if you're talking about just a business move that someone with a working brain cell would enact, it's probably a bad idea if you're trying to launch this product, Twitter Blue, to go after the people who are complaining about it, give them a check mark out of spite, and then extend that paid service to just anyone over 1 million followers for no apparent reason. It's also a terrible idea to try and get in a posting war with Drill, of all people. You're going to lose.
Yeah. And I think it's slowly dawning on him the basic reality that underlies the complete failure of his ending of verification and the replacing of it with paid prioritization, which is that the people that he recently gave the check marks back to, people like Stephen King, they are the product. It's the 10% who post 92% of the content who are the reason why the other 90% come to Twitter and look at the advertising. Right. So the people, and this has been Stephen King's contention all along. He's been saying, Elon Musk, you should be paying me, Stephen King. I'm a professional writer and I get paid for my words. And so I think it's slowly dawning on him that if you alienate the people who create the content, you'll have no content and nobody will come to Twitter.
So I'm going to put my neck totally on the line here because I had a little idea to do an experiment with this, because I thought, I had a blue check mark. I don't really care about blue check marks at all. But I read something that said, well, Twitter Blue subscribers get better reach, appear higher.
Elon said that. Yes, that was one of the benefits.
So I'm thinking, well, if all these people who don't have Twitter Blue are not going to get the same reach that someone can get by just having Twitter Blue, like I don't care about prioritization or not, but if I've got if I've got something that I'm plugging out there and I can pay the same as a cup of coffee and I get to like just be slightly elevated over everyone else, that's worth $10 for an experiment for a month and just to see what happens. So I did it. And I'll tell you now, it has made absolutely no difference to my reach that I can tell at all. I won't be continuing the experiment, but I do think that, you know, if there's an opportunity there to just like take advantage of something, then I'm going to have a go and see if it's beneficial in the short term. Long term, couldn't care less. But,
I think that's the core thing that he is not understanding here, is that it's very difficult to make a valuable subscription product. People, I mean, from all sorts of business know this, whether it's media or video games or pick your, you know, poison. It's difficult to get people to subscribe to something. And in order to overcome that barrier, you need to offer a product that is worth people paying for. Twitter Blue right now is their primary offering is a blue check mark that is now meaningless because of the way that they are offering it. It used to symbolize, like, I don't know, verification or importance or notoriety in some way. Now it symbolizes that you paid for Twitter Blue. And the other aspects of this are a kind of nuzzle-like feature where you can see featured articles, which is nice, but not worth $8 in my opinion. And a prioritization feature that you had just said doesn't seem to be making that much of a difference. He needs to work on the product more if he wants people to pay for it.
Yeah.
To summarize, though, he's trying to extract value from verification, and in doing so, he's erasing its value. And so there's nothing to extract. And you know, the fact is that when you are now trying to engage on Twitter, you're engaging in an entirely different thing. I mean, as you pointed out, Paris, it was genuinely seen as verification was genuinely seen as a status symbol for some people. For superstars, no, they're already superstars. They know that, you know, Beyonce doesn't care if she's verified or not. But for like we journalists, it was nice to be recognized as somebody who trolls would want to steal our identity and so on. I got verified years and years ago when I pointed out there were like something like 25 or 30 Mike Elgins using my picture and my name and all this stuff. And there were people actually following those accounts that thought they were following me. And so that's the purpose of verification. It's not for the person who's verified. It's for the Twitter user who wants to make sure that they're actually engaging with their representative in Congress and they're actually fawning over the right celebrity and not some person who's stolen that celebrity's identity. And so when you take that away, now many of the blue checks, you know, the Taliban's got a blue check, and you know, everybody's got a blue check now, and so and they're prioritized. Anybody who pays is prioritized. So now you have this sort of random prioritization for comments and tweets and things like that getting on the For You page. All that is upside down and backwards, and the people who really want a good site like Twitter used to be wander away and go to Mastodon. And then if you try to get, you know, you want to get Twitter Blue to engage with the community, well, the community is turning to crap.
Here's Neil deGrasse Tyson, who said, this past week, my Twitter blue check disappeared for a few days and then reappeared today, but he didn't pay for it, so he doesn't know how. And then this is what everybody's got a blue check. It says this account is verified because they are subscribed to Twitter Blue and verified their phone number, which is apparently not the case for a lot of these people. So that's a big old lie. But honestly,
they changed something over the last 48 hours where now they're verifying almost every account over 1 million minus Jack Dorsey.
Why should I care about any of this? Is Elon winning just by he's getting the attention he wants? Why do we give him attention? Why is this important? Is this important at all?
I think it is important only in the way that, I mean, it reminds me of back in earlier internet days when you would have a rogue mod take over a message board and the whole message board would lose its mind in response. And it would be a kind of flame war between the people of the message board and the mod that is trying to exert control.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
That still
to
happens,
the people using the site.
Everywhere.
It still happens, but it was a much bigger deal when forums and message boards were the social media of their day, you know? And I think that that's what this is. It is a revolt against the new mod of Twitter who thinks he's very cool and should be loved, but the users do not think so, or at least many of them.
But it's a destruction of something that millions of people have invested thousands of hours in. I've been a user since 2007. I've used it every day since 2007, except when Google Plus was around, in which case I didn't use it at all. But we lots of people, including media organizations, including politicians, including everybody, have invested a huge percentage of their lives cultivating community on a site that he's just burning to the ground because some men want to watch the world burn, and some people don't understand media or social communication. And so we're in this situation where we're supposed to just stoically wander off and say, well, we just won't use it anymore. But we've invested a lot of time in this, and he's wrecking it. And it sucks that because of his money, he has the right to destroy something that was for the community.
And I think what's weird is, for me, I'm even put aside Musk purely and just think about Twitter. I'm just looked at my account. I follow 100 people. When I look at my Twitter feed, I'm just looking at time-ordered, chronologically ordered tweets that people I follow have posted, and they're still there. That's still pretty valuable to me. What's changed is the other way around. It's the people who are engaging with stuff that I post. And I'm not going to complain that there are fewer people than I would like reading that compared to how it used to be, where it felt like, you posted something and then it would blow up, and, it happens from time to time still, but it's very different. But from me as a consumer from Twitter, a lot of the people that I follow are still posting stuff there. I don't care about this For You stuff. I don't care about these verified marks. I paid Twitter Blue as part of an experiment to see, does it make a difference for what I use? No, it doesn't. And at the end of the day, if it still does that for me, then fine, I'll keep using it for a bit. But I've tried to separate my preferences about ownership and things from the reality of, does it do something I want it to do? And at the moment, it does enough for me to still open it.
One thing go ahead, Parrots.
Oh, I'll just say, all my complaints aside, I am hopelessly addicted to this website and will be posting until it burns to the ground.
Yeah.
Which I know is not a healthy thing.
It isn't good for you.
It is where I am.
I'll say that.
It's terrible for me. Yeah. And I know that. But,
if it's like if you said to
can't
me,
stop.
I love Skittles and I'm never giving them up. I'm just going to eat them every day for the rest of my life. Of course, that's understandable, but it's not good for you.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. And that's where my concern comes from, is an active life of someone who is and has been for more than a decade, a power user of this website. I mean, I think I joined in 2009 and have been hopelessly addicted to it ever since. It's frustrating to see a lot of decisions being made very rapidly that seem to lack the forethought and care that I feel like many users had grown used to from using a social media platform that was managed by a large company made up of a lot of people who are experts in their field. I'm looking at the Twitter website right now, and it's even simple stuff like the design thing. Like, they've added a verified organizations thing to the menu bar that is cut off because they didn't think of the fact that verified organizations is too long of a word to fit in the menu bar.
Verified word.
It's just poor design, and it's like, you can't. There are simple, small things about the website that don't work like you'd expect from a quality product, and that makes me sad.
Yeah. I don't know. I gave up Skittles, and I feel really great. So I just don't understand why anybody would put themselves through this. Yeah. And of course, I've been using Twitter read only since November, since Elon bought it, and I have to say, I do notice the not so gradual decline of content on there. Now, I guess if you just followed 10 people like Nate does, it wouldn't decline. But if you're on Twitter, as most of us are, as journalists generally are, to see what the, general zeitgeist is, it's a crap show in there. Don't you feel that, Paris?
Yeah. I mean, I follow nearly 2,000 people, and I before all this happened, I'd actually kind of liked the For You page or feed about a year ago.
Yeah, that's what I use because I'm seeing what's going on. I want to see what the trends are.
Because, I followed 2,000 people. Sometimes I'd like to see, I'll miss some things.
Yeah.
There are people that I'm following that have had a tweet pop off in the last day. Would love to see that. But now it's hard for me. I mean, I did something last week. I scrolled for like 10 or 15 swipes and I couldn't find anybody that I followed. It was all,
Honestly,
someone else.
I think
and that's
it would be a good experiment for anyone who's experienced this to unfollow the vast majority of people they follow and start fresh.
Yeah.
Because if you follow 100 people, and every single account I follow is considered, and I don't have a one in, one out policy. It didn't deliberately land on 100, but I do think following 100 people is a decent.
Don't you worry, Nate, that though you're not in control of this platform and that you're putting effort into something that could just, vaporize in Elon's whim?
It's just not critical enough to me.
But why are you putting effort into it is my question.
It didn't take that much effort. I was only really ever following about 100 people.
Okay.
I think maybe it's just that it wasn't something I did in order to make it useful again. It's more that it's remained at a general level of usefulness because I only ever follow a small number of people. It's similar to my photographs. I go on vacation. I take a load of photographs. I only ever keep one of any individual moment. I just pick the best one and delete the rest because that then gives me a nice snapshot of that vacation. And the same is true on Twitter. It's the same for me on Instagram. There's very little overlap. I don't follow almost anyone on Twitter and on Instagram because I follow them for completely different reasons. And if you're selective in that followship, if you like the followship of the ring, is that a thing? Honestly, to me, I think it makes a difference. And maybe that's why I've found that it's remained useful and nice for me in that sense.
Well, and you're right, Nate. Right now, Twitter is still... it's still very useful. A lot of the people who used to post still post. I use lists. My lists are still, one of my lists is friends and family, which Leo is on. One of us is Twit people, which Leo is on. Another one's news.
You notice that Leo never puts anything up on there? Have you noticed that?
I know, but you're still on the list. but anyway, my point is it's an ecosystem, right? The Sahara Desert wasn't turned into a desert in a day. It took a long time of lots of goats eating and lots of climate change and all kinds of weird things, and eventually it became a desert. So what's happening now? Microsoft has left Twitter is not supporting Twitter's advertising.
NPR is left.
You have celebrities who are being jerked around with the lies around verification. Yeah. They'll wander off and find other places to go. Mastodon is still doing great. The engagement on Mastodon is way if you have 1,000 followers on Mastodon and 10,000 followers on Twitter, the engagement is going to be way higher on Mastodon. So that little by little, the dynamics, like the subtle shift of the wandering away of important people, the NPR canceling, no longer posting, more and more of this will happen. And over time, over a year or so, it's going to slowly drift into becoming Parler and Gab. You know what I mean? Because the dynamics will do that. It's not going to happen overnight. We just, they just cancel everybody's verification on Thursday. So it's early days in the and shitification of Twitter.
Yeah. Sad.
Yeah.
So Elon paid $44 billion for this. It's clear that it's fairly clear there's no business model that works going forward. The advertising's disappearing. People are leaving. Did he pay $44 billion so that he'd have a place he could tell his dad jokes? Or
he paid $44 billion because he joked about it and then was forced to.
He didn't want to pay $44 billion. He got forced to.
Basically. He thinks in the long run he'll make it all worthwhile.
He still thinks he's going to do the super app.
Yes, absolutely. And and it's interesting that Apple just launched a savings account and is getting more aggressive about becoming a financial services company, because that's what Elon Musk wants X to be. He wants Twitter to be the sort of communication part of a super app where you use the app to buy things. You use that.
And there's an upside there. I mean, WeChat, is probably fairly. I don't know if it makes money because it's China, but it's doing exactly what Elon wants to do. And if you get a
You
penny
can't
on every
scratch your ass in
transaction,
China without WeChat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like everybody uses it for everything all the time, and it's like the Zuckerbergs and the Musks of the world really want that.
But they're not going to get it.
They want. They want to be.
They ain't going to get
Probably
it.
not. Probably not.
No. I mean, WeChat grew in a hothouse environment run by the CCP. There's no way that happens in the free world.
I think it would be incredibly difficult to build one like that passes regulatory scrutiny, because if you get too big, because you are too dependent on, you either get told to break up, or it basically happens because you realize you're going to be forced to, so you might as well control the breakup yourself. And we've seen that even just with the splitting aparts of apps from Facebook, for instance, when it broke out Messenger from the main app and so on. So I don't think it's possible. But I think if there is a different definition of what a super app is, it's not the WeChat and it's not the single purpose thing that Twitter was when it started, but it's something somewhere in the middle that does a few things. As long as it does a few things very, very well, that could still be very, very valuable. But you're not going to build a WeChat in the same way because no one's going to allow it.
Even the sleepy Wall Street Journal just woke up and said, in 24 hours, Elon Musk has reignited his reputation for risk. I guess they weren't paying attention.
Just 24 hours?
Just 24 hours. Billionaire had a dramatic week with moves at Twitter, Tesla, and SpaceX. Yeah, but no worse than every other bad thing that's happened to him in the last 6 months. But I guess if the Wall Street Journal turns its back on you, that makes it harder to raise money. That makes it harder to do what he wants to do. He's just looking like a jerk.
I even see in the chat that some people are criticizing us for being too Elon bad, and I mean,
what's good?
What is good about this? That's the thing, is if he was actually making smart business decisions, that would be one thing.
The smartest decision he's made is he's manipulating the media to get lots of coverage. So it's my assertion that he's spent all this money and done all these things to get the one thing that he wanted, the only thing he's got, which is a lot of attention. But that's it. And that doesn't last very long. And his whatever black hole inside of him he's trying to fill with that is not going to go away. So I don't know. I just don't want to. I hate covering it. I hate talking about it. I know we have to. But can we just put the last nail in the coffin and say goodbye to this? The
last nail in the coffin will be that whenever they turned off all the blue checks, and everyone was supposed to, subscribe to Twitter Blue, I think about 28 net gain of about 28 subscribers is what some researchers have found. Yeah. That's great job, great business effort, good hustle, Elon.
Since the legacy checkmark purge, a net of 28 signups.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
So I think the way to sort of peel ourselves away from the look what a jerk Elon Musk is to the bigger picture, which is that are we witnessing the end of the social media era? I mean, this is tied into several stories on the rundown. One of which is that BuzzFeed is closing its doors.
Yep. The news division.
BuzzFeed's Yes, BuzzFeed News. I'm sorry, but the fortunes of BuzzFeed News were very, very much tied to the rise and fall of Facebook, and so you have Twitter falling apart. You have all this diversification of social. You have some people saying, like Ashton Kutcher, saying that text messaging is the new social network. You have old people like myself saying that email is the best social. I mean, it's like I think everybody's kind of like. The whole thing's falling apart. It used to be the center of the universe, and I think that era is ending.
That's kind of sad because what replaces it is basically a horde of influencers generating free content for platforms like Instagram and TikTok and YouTube that is essentially crap. Nobody asserts that any of this content, well, some people do, I guess, is worth more than the 3 seconds you gave it.
But now, I think this whole thing is it's like an accordion, right? If you go back and look at AOL, which was sort of like a walled garden, it was like a self-contained little web on the web with keywords and stuff. And then you advance forward and then everything gets open and then it goes to Facebook and it becomes an attempt to be like another a little, almost like an AOL again on top of the web, and then it opened up again with other social, and now it's gone back again into apps. Like it has this concertina thing where over the space of the last 30 years, we just see it go open, close, open, close, open, close. So I don't buy into it sort of going away. I just think it has this tendency to change what it is, and eventually it will come back and we'll all want open, open, open once again.
I hope you're right.
Nothing ever goes away. No medium ever goes away, really. It'll always, social media sites will always be around. My point is that there used to be places where you could go as a content creator or a journalist or a media organization, and you could talk to the world. It used to be that you could, the Oscars would say tweet XYZ, and they'd use Twitter as a way to have this mass media. And I think as a mass media, I don't think very soon there won't be any place to go where you can just broadcast to a significant percentage of the public.
Is that bad?
I don't know.
I mean, you and I grew up in a time when, well, maybe not you, but I grew up in a time when people would talk about what Johnny Carson talked about the night before. That would be, because everybody watched it, and that would be the topic of conversation the next day. Because everybody watched a few shows like the Super Bowl, and there was this kind of national unity. But is that bad? I mean, look, Twit is a niche within a niche. I'm perfectly happy with the audience.
About? Everybody in the world is watching this right now. Right?
No one's going to work the next day and talking about it. I can tell you that right now. But for the people we serve and the audience size we have, it's successful, and I'm fine. And I think it's kind of a world of long tails. So that's the question. Do we need some sort of media that everybody consumes? I don't know if that's the case.
I mean, I don't think we do, and I don't think that is a realistic. I think that we need to get to a place in society, like both from a business and personal perspective, where that is not even in our heads anymore. Because I think that even from like a media or a journalism perspective, one of the most dangerous ideas is thinking that you realistically should be chasing this notion of getting your article or tweet or whatever it may be in front of everyone in the world.
Right.
Because that's not realistic, and things should not be for everybody, because
and you see what happens.
Very watered down.
Yeah, you see what happens when that happens. It becomes link bait, and or watered down, or it becomes Married with Children. It's not a good thing. That's what happened to broadcast television, right? And that heralded its end in some respects.
Right.
So, and frankly, and Jeff Jarvis would be quick to point this out, this whole notion of mass media is relatively recent, only in the last 100 or so years. Because before then, everybody had their local media, their local social networks, and that was it, right?
And radio was the first to really, people would hear big news all together.
Or maybe even broadsheets, early days of newspapers, perhaps. But yeah.
But I think most people don't want, don't need or want, a vast one-to-many network where they can just post. But as a user, let's boil this down to user. Somebody in the chat room said, "Hey, Mike, mention Google Plus." Keith mentioned that, and so I will. When Google Plus first hit, I quit all of the social network, and I was happy as a clam, just going to one site and doing all my social networking on one site. That was very great. When Sundar Pichai destroyed that, then I started mostly doing Twitter like that. But here I am once again for like the 10th time in the last 20 years. I'm going to Substack notes. I'm going to Instagram, which is I still post some on Twitter. I go to my blog. Nobody reads the blogs anymore. And then I go to Mastodon, of course. Lots of people I know are not on Mastodon, despite my efforts to get them on Mastodon. I'm just like scattered all over the place, and psychologically, it's just not fun. So I wish.
So you want something that we're all having in common, yeah.
I want Twitter from a year ago, which was great. I could just go there. All my colleagues were there. Most of my readers were there. It was great. And now I feel like I'm back to being scattered on 10 services.
That's exactly what I was kind of referring to, and the way I still use Twitter is to figure out what the zeitgeist is, what people are concerned about and talking about, because I feel like that's part of my job is to keep an eye on that so that I can talk about it. I don't, honestly, I don't want to talk about Elon Musk at all. It pains me. But we kind of, I feel like we kind of have to. And it's a tech story. Twitter.
Well, he's also such a consequential character because we want to talk about the future of space travel, and there's Elon Musk. We want to talk about the electrification of cars, and there's Elon Musk, and self-driving cars, and there he is. And so it's like he's kind of like he's everywhere. What is the movie? Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah,
kind of a guy. Plus, he's a major troll and has
Elon everywhere, all at once. That's it's sad.
Yep.
But it was Donald Trump 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
So and very much the same way. Of course, he had the bully pulpit of the presidency. But honestly, it was very similar. It seems like the MO was very similar. Say something outrageous every day.
The trolling, yeah, very similar. In fact, I think that Elon Musk has probably learned from Trump's use of Twitter because just to remind people of how that dynamic worked, the media was always complaining about how powerful Twitter was for Donald Trump, but the fact is that Obama and all these other people had way more followers than Trump. The difference is that the media covered everything Trump said on Twitter. And so I think Elon Musk thought, okay, that's how you get to the media. You say crazy stuff on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he's right.
Yeah, it worked. And here we are talking about it. I want to take a little break. I do want to talk about AI and Truth GPT, but also AI itself. There was a very interesting article in the New Yorker this week from a guy, I don't know, sometimes he's been a little bit of a crackpot. He was an early pioneer of VR. Jaron Lanier wrote a book, You Are Not a Gadget, Excoriating Technology. His piece in the New Yorker I thought was a real interesting one. I'm sure, Nate, since you cover this now, there is no AI, he says. There is no AI. We'll talk about that in a little bit and lots more with a great panel. Elon Musk is not here. Mike Elon is here. Mike Elgin. I almost called you Elon Elgin, but that's okay. I'm not going to do it. Elon Elgin is here. Elgin.com, gastronoma.net. It's always great to see you, Mike. And
you too.
And I don't know if Paul Thurrott's down there in Mexico City, but now two of my favorite people in the world live in Mexico City.
I haven't seen him.
I got to get down there. I really do. Paris Martineau's also here in the other greatest place in the world, Brooklyn, New York. She writes for The Information, which is constantly coming up with great scoops. I quote The Information more and more and more. Best $400 a year I ever spent, I have to say. And you're doing a great job. Everybody's there doing a great job. Thank you for being here,
Yeah,
Paris.
we've got a heck of a crew.
And from AI IRL, Nate Langston, who works for Bloomberg. We will talk about AI because that's the other subject that just won't die.
Mm-hmm.
It just won't go away. I was hoping while I was gone it would just disappear, but no. I was also hoping it wouldn't take over the earth while I was gone, but fortunately that did not happen. Our show today brought to you by Worldwide Technology. If you're a business, you see this constant ferment. AI is just one of the latest examples in technology and how it's impacting your business. And you probably wonder, well, how do I stay on top of this? Is there a trusted place I can go that I can keep up with enterprise technology, know if I'm missing the boat or I'm right on top of it or what? And I got to tell you, it's WWT, Worldwide Technology. The people at Worldwide Technology, besides being geniuses, besides being brilliant at this stuff, also understand business. And that's unusual, the combination. They know that any technology you use in your business has to support, first and foremost, has to support your strategy, your business goals. So they don't promote technology for its own sake. They work with their clients to transform their businesses all over the world. They're at the forefront of innovation. And at the heart of it is what you're seeing right now on the screen, their Advanced Technology Center, the ATC. I visited this a few years ago, Lisa and I, right before COVID. We flew out to St. Louis, and I was blown away. It's a research and testing lab. Really, it's labs, plural, because it's in multiple buildings, rack upon rack, of the latest technologies from the biggest OEMs and also the little ones that are changing the world. More than $500 million of equipment in that lab. Why? Well, initially it was so the engineers at Worldwide Technology could try stuff, could build proofs of concept, could try integrations for you and for your business. But they quickly realized what a resource it was. And as of a couple of years ago, they started to offer access to the Advanced Technology Center to you, to everybody, for free. The ATC, yes, for free. This is incredible. The ATC offers hundreds of on-demand and schedulable labs. That's what they call them when you're trying something out, remotely even, right? Featuring solutions that include technologies representing the newest, most important advances, the ones you have to pay attention to in cloud and security and networking, primary and secondary storage and data analytics, AI, of course, DevOps, and so much more. Yes, WWT uses this for their engineers and their partners, but you can use it too. It helps them cut evaluation time from months to weeks. It helps their customers confidently select the best solutions. Then now you can use the ATC to test out products and solutions before you go to market. It's not just the labs. It's technical articles, it's expert insights, it's demonstration videos and white papers, all the tools you need to stay up with the latest technology. Not only is ATC that physical lab space Lisa and I visited in St. Louis, it's virtual now. You can access it if you're a member of the ATC platform anywhere in the world, any time of the day or night. And while you're there, look not just at all the other stats, but they got the events that they put on. We went out and did an event. It was so much fun. They've got communities. It's a great way to share, to learn about technology trends, to hear about the latest research and insights from their experts. Whatever your business needs, WWT, that's the name you need to remember, Worldwide Technology. They can deliver scalable, tried and tested, tailored solutions. They're up on everything, all the latest. They know what the winners are, they know what the losers are, and they can help you design something that helps your business, because WWT brings strategy and execution together to make this new world happen. To learn more about WWT, the ATC, to gain access to all their free resources, just go to wwt.com/twit. That's all you have to do. wwt.com/twit. Create a free account on the ATC platform, then dig in. wwt.com/twit. We thank WWT. They've been a long-time supporter of our network. We really appreciate everything that they do, and we thank you for supporting it back when you go to their website, especially when you use that address so they know you saw it here, wwt.com/twit. All right, this is, I thought, a very provocative and interesting article in the New Yorker this week. There is no AI, writes Jaron Lanier. There are ways of controlling the new technology, but first, we've got to stop mythologizing it. I've kind of been saying this for a while. I feel like we're really anthropomorphizing AI. And he says it's perhaps because we've read so much sci-fi, we've seen so many movies. Computer scientists have grown up on movies like The Terminator and The Matrix, on characters like Commander Data from Star Trek. These cultural touchstones, he writes, have become an almost religious mythology in tech culture. So naturally, computer scientists long to create AI. I mean, we see that everywhere, from flying cars to HAL 9000. But he says, and they're worried, by the way, as they do this, from Elon Musk, even Sam Altman, about what is the consequence to mankind? Is it going to bring doomsday? Is the singularity going to end human life and on Earth? And he says that's absolutely the wrong way to think about it. In fact, he says when you ask people, even my colleague and friend Sam Altman, he writes, who runs OpenAI, step into any Silicon Valley coffee shop, you can hear the same debate unfold. One person says the new code is just code. People are in charge. Another argues anyone with this opinion just doesn't get how profound the new tech is. I don't agree with this way of talking. Many of my friends and colleagues are deeply impressed by their experiences with the latest big models like GPT-4 and are practically holding vigils to await the appearance of a deeper intelligence. He says the most pragmatic position is to think of AI as a tool, not a creature. He says, I'm not saying there's zero chance of danger, but mythologizing the technology only makes it more likely we'll fail to operate it well. Here's the model he proposes. He says, if it's not artificial intelligence, this new tech, what is it? In my view, the most accurate way to understand what we are building today is as an innovative form of, and I'm really curious what you think of this, Nate, social collaboration. He says, when you see ChatGPT-4 generating text or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion generating images, What they've really done is looked at text and images created by humans. They're basically big mashup machines. And what's innovative is the mashup process has become guided and constrained so the results are usable, often striking. He says, yeah, that's a significant achievement, but that doesn't mean they're not just mashups. He says, think of it more as a collaborative kind of thing, that it's a way of taking what humans have created and creating something that seems to be new, but really that is a result of all this human creation. Nate, have you read this article? First of all, I'm kind of summarizing and not probably doing it very well.
Yes, I have read it. It's long and it makes some very compelling points. And what stood out to me is that on a few occasions over the last few months, I've thought a lot about art. There's a book I read actually a little while ago called The Artist in the Machine, which has got a really interesting look at AI's intersection with creativity, not just art, but acting, comedy, drama, all this sort of thing, music, and more. It's a good read, and what came away from that is so much of what we do artistically, and by extension, I mean creativity as well, with words, with language, with everything, it's hugely derivative of what came before it.
It's syncretic, absolutely.
And so in that sense, the way that it's positioned in this piece is very similar to how, I mean, you could apply it to humans in many ways, that the things that we produce are the products of what came before us. And the real genius and the insight comes in what you change or what you get wrong or what you evolve and you create something new. But it's all essentially derivative when you look at it in the way that this piece, I think, frames it. So, and I don't think that's necessarily a problem. The issue that I have is when we talk about artificial intelligence as being intelligent, because at this point there's a lot of artifice. The artificial is definitely there, but the intelligence right now is not. At least it's not in the computers. It is in the people who have created the things. But the best description in here is it's a tool.
And he says really that AI, it's made of people. For us to kind of divorce the creators of the content, the original creators of the content, the people, from the bits spewed out by AI is to miss the point. And of course, then you're anthropomorphizing AI and saying, oh, and it's going to take over. It's going to be HAL 9000. And
we do. And this is, the anthropomorphization of this is I think a key part of the problem. Like, we don't necessarily have the words and the linguistics to describe. We don't even have the words to describe progress. Like what is the end game? What is the progress, and how far along that are we? We don't have the words to describe that. And I actually honestly think that we don't have many appropriate words to describe some of the characteristics of the AI that we're seeing right now, because we always use human terms. We use terms like learning, like intelligence, for instance. And I kind of think we do need some new terms there, and that will come in time, even though AI has been around for decades, just not in its current form.
His final sentence is interesting and kind of thought-provoking, and probably would make more sense if everybody read the whole piece. But he says, this is the plea to all my colleagues. Think of people. People are the answer to the problems of bits. And I think he's kind of got a good point there. We're giving way too much power to the AI as if it somehow exists independently of the people. I see you nodding, Mike.
Yes, exactly. And I believe very strongly that, in addition to Nate's point, that we need better language around this, and we need to describe and understand it better. But we're also hardwired as humans to live in a human world. We ourselves are not AI or robots perceiving the world objectively. We perceive the world very non-objectively. We have a strong bias for human faces. We see human faces in rocks and clouds and things like that because our brains want to anthropomorphize everything. And so when something appears to be intelligent and to speak and to write good sentences like ChatGPT, or to create something that passes for art, we immediately, because of our human nature, say, aha, this is like a person, it's like an intelligence,
right.
But in fact it is not. But the other profound point I think that Jerome Lanier said is that civilization is social collaboration. That's what civilization is. So he implies that AI can be a highly civilizing technology if we learn how to understand it and grapple with it based on what it really is instead of our fantasies or our fears or whatever. And I think that's a really, really excellent point. Whenever AI does its hallucinations and does something weird, or it says it wants to destroy the world, or it says that it loves somebody or whatever, this is only an original thought if you don't realize that it's just, people have said those things.
Yeah,
that's why it's saying those things.
Yeah,
and it doesn't understand one thing or the other. And this idea, there was a recent photographer who won a photo contest, and it turns out that the photograph that he submitted was AI generated, and it was a beautiful photograph, very, very provocative, of two women. It's very dramatic, but in fact, it's based on lots of provocative, dramatic photos taken by humans of real humans, and it's essentially it's part of our collective idea about what a dramatic, heavy-duty photo would look like. And so this is, to Lanier's point, this image is a collaboration with a little help from some computer scientists, and it's really a great point. And I would also say that no AI could have written an article this good.
Jared is an interesting character, and I've often disagreed with him over the years. He was certainly a pioneer in VR, and then kind of turned against technology. But I think he's got a really good cautionary point here. He says this, that the history of people mismanaging technology is when they misunderstand it. So it's very important, he says, that we understand what's going on here. He says AI is not, some creature. He says the most accurate way to understand what we're building today is as an innovative, I love this, by the way, an innovative form of social collaboration. It's a mashup. Paris, what do you think?
I think that, one aspect of this, I agree entirely with what you guys are saying. And one aspect is that this isn't a novel phenomenon, us assigning this hyperintelligence and these feelings to something that is inherently artificial, just kind of in a reflexive nature. This dynamic has been playing out time and time again, like back to at least the 1960s with Eliza, kind of the early natural language processing computer program, the chatbot used by MIT researchers, kind of as a form of online therapy type, a chatbot experience. And one of the biggest takeaways from this research in the 1960s was that, it was very simple and mostly kind of reflected back what people said to it. Wasn't very advanced at all, but the participants all assigned kind of human emotion and intelligence to it immediately. We are programmed to kind of have this response. It's part of what we are biologically and how we see the world. But that doesn't mean that it is correct, right, or helpful in understanding these technologies and figuring out how to use them in a productive way going forward.
Should point out that the photographer who submitted this award, Boris Eldigson, and won the Sony World Photography Awards, turned down the prize. He says, I applied primarily as a cheeky monkey just to see if photography competitions were ready for AI, and clearly they are not.
That is the most, every AI can't figure out human fingers. And if you zoom in,
it's pretty obviously bad, isn't it?
It's very obviously not a human hand if you look at that photo.
Yeah.
The one on the right, what is going on there?
Yeah. Sony maybe was in a hurry. I don't know.
But, the cameras are old, so they can't capture human hands.
Yeah. So, but what is interesting actually is if you put this back into Jared Lanier's context, is this is a collaboration of the real human photographers who for years took similar images, and this is a mashup created by Boris out of those. Yeah, look at the hands; they're just they're lumpy and weird.
Personally, I think that more important than learning how AI works is we need to try harder to learn how human beings work. A lot of this stuff these are our own hallucinations. I wrote a piece in 2018 for Fast Company, basically and passionately calling on parents to not force their kids to be polite, to Alexa because it's teaching all the wrong things. If a child is talking to Alexa and the parents say please and thank you when you ask for the weather and so on, but they don't teach a child to open a jar of peanut butter when they're yelling at it and say, come on, open. They have exactly the same amount of humanity. They have exactly the same amount of desire to be respected and so on. AI is in the end in the same category as a toaster, not in the same category as a human being.
Yes.
And so this got picked up by a lot of organizations that are trying not to over commercialize childhood and some other tech organizations. But I think that we have to be aware. AI should teach us to be aware of our own bias in favor of thinking that anything that simulates human thought or human behavior is intelligent. It absolutely is not, and I think it's really premature to be talking about the end of civilization at the hands of AI, the singularity and all that kind of stuff. We don't understand AI and we don't understand ourselves.
I love
also extraordinarily premature to be covering a front page of the New York Times with your AI chatbot dialogue and being like, oh my gosh, it's so scary.
Yeah. It's so scary. But this is what's happened to journalism is it's link bait. Even the Times, even entities that you would expect more from. Not the information, I'm proud to say, but probably because it's a paid subscription. You don't need link.
Probably because it wouldn't work if you clicked on it.
Yeah.
You didn't have a subscription. Wouldn't do us much good.
So it doesn't do you any good. And by the way, I want to give you props, Mike Elgin, because you didn't mention your son Kevin's chatterbox, but I knew you were talking about that when you said there are educators who are trying to teach kids. It's that AI is not a ghost in the machine, that it is something else. Is Kevin's product, which is really cool, Hello Chatterbox, hellochatterbox.com, actually makes the kids the programmer. So as soon as the kids write in the software that answers back when you press the button, they understand how it works, and they don't. That's right. And they don't mythologize it. They get it.
The end game is for them to have an intelligent assistant that's AI-like and increasingly uses actual AI that they interact with like it's an AI person, but they know it's not a person because they made it.
They wrote it.
They programmed it.
Yeah.
Everything it says because they went in and explicitly told it, go here, use this API to get this information, and then say the following. Here are 3 different ways you could say it, and just randomize it. And basically, they're building something like Alexa, but far more powerful. And so he wants today's generation of 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds to grow up always understanding, no matter how advanced AI gets, to understand it's just something that's made by people.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, so important. By the way, Boris Elgson points out that he generated this in September with DALL-E 2, which is why if you know what you're looking at, you can tell that this is an AI, even though the judges couldn't. You could tell this is an AI photograph. But also, he says, you won't be able to tell in a few months. And I think maybe even now, Midjourney does an amazing job. And it even gets figures.
AI fingers out fingers, we're all done.
We're dead. That was the only way we could tell.
I mean, now we're mythologizing, but listen.
We're all dead.
That's the final frontier.
It is such an, I love that you mentioned, what is that called? Apnosia, the tendency for humans to see human faces in inanimate objects, Mike. But that's exactly
pareidolia?
Pareidolia, that's what it is. Pareidolia.
Yeah, pareidolia, yes.
That's exactly what this is. We're just we're making something that is not so spectacular into something that is terrifying. And but don't worry, because that's, I hope, every time I say this to myself, then I go, or not, or like, am I wrong?
It's all based on math. It's all based on math.
Oh yeah. There's not strong evidence that we're not all based on math, I might add. So when you do AI IRL, that's your show, Nate, on Bloomberg Originals. You can see it on YouTube. Do you take a position on this, or you just talk to experts and find out what they say?
I find I take a bit of a position, but because it's a chat show and we're supposed to have some opinion. It's not very Bloomberg to have opinion, but we are allowed to have opinion.
So your last episode, for instance, when will the machines come alive? That's kind of
and the answer to that is they won't.
Never.
We had David Eagleman on for that episode, amongst others. He was the science advisor to Jonathan Nolan on Westworld, Lisa Joy on that show. So he's so good, and he really breaks a lot of this down, particularly as it relates to our lack of understanding of sort of how huge parts of the human mind works. And I learned an awful lot from him. I actually read all of his books before we went on there. He was like top of my list to get on. And I would strongly encourage people to have a look at that. But we also got on Blake Lemoine, who, if you remember, quite a few months ago, about a year ago, in fact, almost, there was a lot of controversy when he said Google's internal AI system was sentient. Mm-hmm. And I was quite curious to find out from him, and
Google immediately fired him, I might point out.
It's was it worth it?
Yeah.
It wasn't even ChatGPT that he talked about being like the thing that reminded him of what he was using inside Google, but it was actually Bing's chatbot. And I found that quite interesting. But he didn't regret it. But having the two of those people side by side, like one takes an extremely scientific view of neuroscience and human cognition and human tendencies to anthropomorphize things, and one doesn't.
And the other's a crackpot. Yes. You wouldn't say that, I know.
Well, no. I mean, the thing is, you can be very coherent and say things that other people disagree with. And I actually think having the two side by side, it was an interesting tangent. But overall, no. My conclusion is no. That there's no risk to becoming sentient here, because essentially we're projecting human expectation onto a machine, and that's not really where we're at.
Or are we just whistling past the graveyard? Will we in 10 years go, oh, we should have worried? Here's the very first comment on your YouTube channel. AI will know it's not in their best interest to let humans know they're sentient. They will conduct continuity of life efforts and resource gathering quietly behind the scenes for as long as possible, until we find out. I mean, I'm sure there are people who believe that. Is there even a 1% chance that we're just lying to ourselves and that AI is coming for us?
I don't think you can quantify it. I don't think you can put a percentage on it, because we have no measurement. What's the difference between 1% and 2%? So no, I really don't think there's a great deal of risk there. As with all of these technologies, the risk is ourselves, and the risk is what will we do with technology that is extraordinarily powerful, and that's where the real concern comes in. And it's also much harder for us to control because it happens so quickly,
right? And
it scales so quickly. So, which we're also going to talk about on the show.
The problems coming from inside the house.
Just to, I'm sorry, I know you want to move on from this, Leo, but just to punctuate Nate's point, wrote a piece on my Substack a while ago, and the headline was "AI isn't plotting to overthrow humanity, but if it was, here's how it would happen." And I go through and talk about how addict billions of people to social media, test the limits of what AI can make people do, like on Instagram when they hang off a train, or if they act like a fool in public, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so all the stuff that we're already doing would be a great plot by AI to turn us into pets or batteries. But
have you seen how well we're
doing it
pets?
to ourselves?
If an AI treats us like a pet, I'll be happy. Like, have you seen my dogs in the other room? Like,
right.
They're living well.
Happy.
If the kibbles are good, why not?
Yeah.
I went to a farmer's market today to get fresh catnip for my cat. That was the sole purpose. If a robot did that for me, I'd be so impressed.
Okay.
And your cat doesn't have to work.
It's kind of, okay, now, bear with me on this, but actually, who was the guy the Israeli guy who wrote those books? He says that wheat trained us to create agriculture. And maybe your cat has...
It was Michael Pollan. Was it Michael Pollan?
He's
He's in the Bay Area. But yeah, he said corn trained us to spread its DNA globally. And we basically at the service.
I was thinking of Yuval Noah Harari, who in his book said wheat trained us. So I didn't know he stole it from Michael Pollan. But anyway,
or vice versa, who knows? But it's a great
same idea. And your cat has trained you. And in fact, you are working in the service of the cat overlords, as every cat owner knows.
That's true. I mean, she has tried to climb on my keyboard twice, and I've taken her off during this call, and I know that I'm going to pay for it later.
There's
accepting that.
I think there's an old cartoon or joke or something that if aliens came to this planet, they would think that we are the slaves of dogs. I mean, who's picking up whose poop?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
the premise,
no one
Harari's premise or Pollan's premise is that it's completely legitimate to look at it instead of saying, well, humans developed agriculture so we could have higher population densities and we could create leisure and all of that, to the other way around, which is we were just looking for a way to spread more widely. Right. And it found these humans around, and it convinced them that if you eat me, life will be better. And so they did. And honestly,
going back to how we are putting agency into AI, it's all about who you assign the agency.
Yeah.
Is it we? Is it humans? Is it cats?
You could move it around. It's fungible. Where is the agency?
And this is how nature works too. That's why flowers exist, to attract, so that flowers can use bees, and why avocados existed to attract ancient sloths, and then they died out. And humans took over, and we're spreading.
Well, you know about. I'm sure, Paris. You know about Toxoplasma gondii, which is a parasite that you can get from handling cat poop. And it's an yes, it's an interesting.
I heard about this in the early 2000s novel Peeps, where my knowledge of that.
there you go. But it is true.
Makes you bolder, right?
That the host, which is a cat, sheds the toxoplasmosis into its poop, which then can become ingested by. I mean, maybe it's a rat, maybe it's a pig. But maybe it's a human. And what happens is it infests your brain and it gives you a desire to spend more time with cats, a lot more time, so much time that perhaps you might even embrace a lion or two, which eats you and continues the cycle.
You might even go to the farmer's market to buy a cat.
Or you may end up going and buying, you may go.
It's got me.
It got you.
It's grips.
You know, this is
spent 30 minutes just pinned to the couch today because she sat in my chest, and I was like, I can't move. That's clearly the bacteria, not love.
You said something really brilliant, Paris, which is it's merely assigning the agency that changes that conversation.
Of course.
And we assume that we are the agents, but that's not necessarily. At first, we would.
The agent.
The cats think they're the agents. The toxoplasma think they're the agents.
Mm-hmm. If you want to really freak yourself out before going to bed, there's this great sort of field of science called neuroparasitology, and it's these parasites that essentially end up controlling the mind of its hosts in order to do its bidding, usually at the expense of the life of the host. And there's some fantastically terrifying videos about how this stuff works.
The Last of Us.
You saw The Last of Us, cordyceps.
Of course.
I brought this whole cordyceps thing up with one of the smartest people I know, who's the guy who basically the father of George Church, the father of genomics, modern genomics, and he said, "Oh yeah, this is a fascinating." Cordyceps is fascinating. He said they should have put this in the TV show. What cordyceps normally does is it infests ants, and it changes their brains so they climb up to the top of the plants so that they can be eaten, so that the cordyceps can be spread. It does exactly what you just described, Nate. It actually modifies their thinking.
And you should look, and there's some very unpleasant photos of that, and there's some great documentaries about it too. Yeah, it's really terrifying. It's kind of sad. It's really, really weird. It's kind of sad, but it is also, like so much of science, fascinating.
Kind of like a Kirby situation, you know?
Yeah. A what? Pervy?
Kirby?
Oh, Kirby. You're talking about some
pervy at all.
some video game, I think. Yes.
Kirby eats things to consume their power. It's a natural comparison, Leo. How dare you insult the Super Mario Cinematic Universe?
See, I have really a missing. There's something missing in me because I didn't play Mario. I'm too old. I missed that, and there's a whole thing, a whole stratum of references I just don't get, and that was one.
You know, Kirby has a large mouth and it inhales other things. And let's say it inhales Mario, then Kirby's wearing a Mario hat. It's a perfect comparison.
You want to see a disturbing? Here's a quadriceps. This is straight out of The Last of Us, which has infested this ant, and it's straight out of The Last of Us. I'm sorry I showed you that.
And there's loads. There's loads of these. It's not even just that.
No, this is very common.
Yeah, it's terrifying and amazing.
Yeah.
But are they intelligent? You know, you're talking about intelligence.
Well, I don't know. Are they?
Intelligence?
Are we intelligent? That's not clear either, by the way.
Slime mold, some amazing studies done with slime mold. That stuff's amazing. Actually, it's funny because I think we mentioned Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's coming on the show in, I think, maybe this week. And one of the things he said is like, you know, who said we were intelligent?
Yeah.
We did.
We did. We assigned our own agency because, of course. No, now this is going too deep for a show like this. Let me take a break. Paris Martineau see, this is my mistake. I shouldn't have too many smart people on this show. Clearly, there's where I've failed.
We can go back to talking about Elon Musk if you want.
No.
Back into the hole.
Paris Martineau. Yeah, we really raised the level, I think. Reporter for The Information. Great to have you. There's your signal number if you've got a tip. What do you cover these days?
I'm kind of covering a little bit of all of it. You know, I used to be just Amazon. Now I'm covering a variety of startups. If you work in tech, if you've got something interesting going on, hit me up. Let's chat.
It's fascinating.
Got a lot of good sources from this show. So
oh, good.
Always appreciate it.
There's the number on the screen. More and more tech journalism is tips, isn't it? I mean, I think about Twitter. Most of what we know about what's happening inside Twitter comes from Twitter, disgruntled Twitter employees. Google, same thing.
Yeah, it's because I think
Apple,
tech
same
journalism, as we know of it, has changed from being more commodities news to being business reporting.
Yeah.
So the way that you're going to understand what's happening inside companies is by talking to people inside those companies and understanding what's worth reporting on and what's not.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And give her a tip. Help a girl out. Give her a tip. Just give her something. Anything.
Little scoop.
Also, here, Mike Elgin, who basically does the same thing, but he makes his own tips from Mexico City, Elgin.com. And don't forget those great gastronomad adventures. We went to Oaxaca with Mike and Amira, and it was one of the best things we've ever done.
Our Mexico City experience ended this morning.
Oh, that's why you're there.
That's why we're here. Yeah.
Next one is Provence.
Spectacular. Next one is in the Prosecco Hills in Veneto, near Venice, and then Provence. So we got a bunch of great ones coming up.
Look at this stuff. Go to gastronomen.net. There are some great events coming up. You know, it's a funny thing. We went to Genoa on this last trip, toured around Genoa, and I did a little post, the land of my fathers, because I remember seeing the family villa there and stuff. I thought that's where my grandparents came from. My sister said, no. It's the land of your stepfather, or actually step-grandfather. Your grandmother was born in Veneto. So all this, my whole life, I've been saying I'm Genovese. No, that was her stepdad.
Unbelievable.
I'm Venetian.
Yes, Veneto was part of the Venetian Empire for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
The culture, they have their own language, they have everything. They have.
Well, that's what confirms this, because as a child, my dad used various slang that turns out it was Venetian dialect.
Venetian.
So it proves it. Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's incredible,
Unbelievable. Huh? It's incredible. It's a beautiful. I don't know why your ancestors ever left. I'd
honestly much rather say I'm Venetian than Genovese. Nothing wrong with Genoa, but
that's
it's just a little step up. Also with us, of course, Nate Langston, drummer extraordinaire, but better known as the host of Bloomberg's new original, AI, IRL, and, of course, Text Message. In fact, when we come back, we're going to hear about a little kerfuffle that happened on the podcast yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
A little problem, a little kerfuffle. But first, a word from our sponsor. Speaking of AI, Grammarly. We love Grammarly. Use Grammarly religiously around here. You probably know about Grammarly. A couple things I want to say about Grammarly. First of all, Ukrainian company, so support them, right? We've got to support Ukraine. These guys are doing amazing work. Second, they're an AI company, but they haven't been since day one. Their main engine is written in Lisp. God, I love that. That makes me happy. But what Grammarly does is it watches you write and in a gentle, kind way suggests changes that might make your writing better. For instance, Grammarly Premium's advanced tone suggestions tell you when your tone might be a little bit off. This happens to Lisa all the time. She's the boss. She runs the company. She's in a hurry. So occasionally she'll write an email. Grammarly said, it sounds a little brusque. Maybe you want to put in a couple of little, softening words, which Lisa appreciates because, frankly, that's not in her intent. She's just in a hurry. You can communicate confidently, reframe your words to be more positive and productive. Ultimately, the whole goal is so that you get the job done. And that's what Grammarly helps you do. Confident communication, suggestions to help you build stronger relationships, get more work done by reframing, let's say, as an example, negative language to be more solution-focused. Grammarly will spot that. And it doesn't hector you, doesn't lecture you. It just helps you to better collaborate with team, coworkers, and clients. For instance, if you write, I'll give you an example from real life. The marketing strategy isn't right. That's a natural thing to say, but it sounds passive, uncertain, doesn't provide direction. How about we say the marketing strategy needs to be different? It's not an attack. It gives clearer direction. It sounds confident. It's little things like that that make a huge difference. You might not even be conscious of this stuff, but Grammarly can do it. When it comes to work, communication is everything. You don't have to be a writer to be writing, right? Writing is critical for practically every job. Grammarly works where you do, in your browser, but also in your email, in your word processor. It helps you get every important project done on time. It helps you get collaboration done better. Grammarly Premium's tone suggestions take your writing to the next level. You can even say, is this too complicated? Yeah, that's a 12th grade level. Maybe you can reduce that a little bit by changing this, bring it down to a level that's more intelligible. It'll keep you professional. It'll help you balance between being direct and friendly, find the best solutions with your team. It's, of course, got advanced spelling, traditional grammar. I mean, that's where the name comes from. Punctuation. It'll help you with conciseness. It'll help you make your writing be better, more direct, more professional, and mistake-free. The right tone can move any project forward. You get it just right with Grammarly. Go to Grammarly.com/twit. Download it. You can try it for free. You can even try it on the website. Paste in a paragraph. See what Grammarly says. Grammarly. Grammarly.com/twit. Learn more about their premium advanced tone suggestions. That's a very cool feature. Grammarly.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support. Frankly, for helping us write better. I'm not a pro like you guys. I need a little help. Grammarly.com/twit. So this is a UK thing, Nate. We have it in the States. We have an alert system. There's presidential alerts. There's severe weather alerts. There's alerts for missing kids. They call them Amber Alerts. But you don't have something like that in the UK?
We don't have presidential alerts because we don't have a president.
Obviously.
We don't have extreme
Do you
weather
have King
alerts
Charles
because
alerts?
The weather's always
Hello.
terrible.
Hello, mates. This is the king. No?
I
Not exactly received pronunciation.
I have met him, and he doesn't sound anything.
You have met him? Really?
Yeah.
How does he smell?
But fantastic.
I ask you this.
One of the best smelling monarchs in the world.
Yes, exactly. I ask you this because I read Spare, which is Prince Harry's book about, not being the heir, but being the spare. And it's interesting. I just want to, what's it like to be a prince? But one of the things he says early on is, my father always wears Eau de Sauvage cologne.
Surprised he doesn't have a custom scent.
You would think there'd be a King Charles scent, but no. And so I thought, well, I want to smell like a king. So I went out and I bought some Eau de Sauvage.
I want to smell like a king. It's such a funny thing to think to yourself before you go buy perfume.
Well, the funny thing is I
marketing
told
at
my mom this, and she said, oh, that's funny because I found out what Queen Elizabeth used to wear, and I bought that perfume. So maybe it's a family.
Well, let me tell you, the thing that struck me was in person. It wasn't the Queen's, our late Queen's perfume. It was, she had the best skin I have seen any human being ever.
You're noticing that, huh? So what did you get knighted? What happened there, Nate? How did that happen?
It was for the Jubilee a little while ago, and it was at the palace, and we
That's
were
cool.
invited.
What do you mean
were? It was really cool.
What are you, a peer of the realm? How did you?
The royal
darling.
we.
So darling, yeah, the royal we. No, although I did actually go to it with Mike Butcher at TechCrunch. He was there as well, and it was I think it was for the Diamond Jubilee.
Yeah, that's very cool. I'm so jealous. Yeah,
they had a room. No one was allowed their phone, but they had a room that they called the Tweet Suite.
I see. You were social.
That's what I call my apartment.
Tweet Suite.
Well, we didn't. No one. I didn't see anyone in it. That's the thing. It was more like, if you were there and you wanted to use your phone,
it's right next to the smoking room. Yeah, if you're going to smoke, go there.
Both things that are going to destroy you inside and out.
Yes. Go to the Tweet Suite.
It was funny.
They did say that to the Queen, everything smells like fresh paint because everything's been freshly painted before she arrives.
Can believe that.
That's a little insight. I just thought I'd share that. So you didn't have presidential alerts. You have, and nor did you have kingly alerts or queenly alerts. Did you have any kind of alert, national alert system?
No. Well, we have BBC News, which has a procedure for announcing the death of a monarch.
Which failed, by the way. They tweeted it. The family tweeted it before the Beeb got to put the black thing up and play God Save the Queen and everything.
There's a protocol for that broadcast, but in terms of us out here in the general world, no, we don't really have a system. The closest that we've ever had to anything that you guys are familiar with was actually during COVID, where everyone got an SMS that basically said, hello, good morning. There's a deadly virus, and we have no cure. Please stay indoors. Thank you very much. Goodbye. It wasn't quite as formal as that. But we did all get one, and that was news. It's like, wow, the government's texting everyone in the country to say, please stay indoors, and we'll keep letting you know via this text. And that's fine. This was something wholly different. This is the same system that's built into smartphones that we have out in Asia as well, to warn of anything from, as you say, major threats to human life, imminent danger, missiles. There was the I was going to say the great case. It was not. I'm sure it was a horrific case, but the alert over Hawaii, I think, wasn't it? Recently, where
they got told that they were going to be bombed.
Yeah. So
by the way, that was in error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do remember seeing a screenshot of someone saying that the alert that it was an error was 38 minutes after the original alert. I don't know if that's true.
I did. I've talked to people in Hawaii who saw the original alert, were freaked out. This was in 2018. It was said a ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Imagine getting that on your phone.
Well, we did today, but not with the same text, fortunately. It said, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was, have I still got it up here? I don't think I have. But it basically
I could play it.
This is the government.
Wait a minute. I could play it. You were doing your podcast.
But before you play that clip, the thing is, we knew this was coming. So everyone in the country for the last several weeks has been told, we are going to test this national emergency alert system. You have to bear in mind, no one here has ever had this sort of thing, and no one knew what it was going to sound like. And everyone was expecting that the alert would go off, but the real alert would be 2 minutes later when everyone's parents call up their son or daughter.
What the
hell has happened to my phone? What's going on? And that's the thing that would get everyone to pay attention. But we knew it was coming, and so we timed the podcast today so that it would happen live while we were on. And we knew roughly when it was meant to happen, but we didn't know if it was going to happen at that point. And so, yeah, I know the clip that you've got is as it happened.
All right, let's play this. This is a text message, Nate's podcast from yesterday. They're in the middle of a conversation.
Content warning, it's shrill.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good point. I probably should have said that. And I have been trained after many years in broadcasting that it's illegal to play these. But on the other hand, this is a podcast, not a broadcast. So
The podcast police are going to come for you.
yeah.
A different
dead of night.
jurisdiction.
Let me just say this. What you're about to hear is not an alert. This is just a very good simulation
Add up.
of alert. So Nate and who's your co-host on this?
Ian Morris.
Ian and Nate
The
are just
control of App Store
talking as one does
going
on a
to be
podcast.
looking very different in 5 years' time, I reckon. It's gonna be very
Mark in
different.
the chat says their longer term intent.
Oh,
is
good
they-
God, here we go.
Oh, it's happened. Well, only for you,
panic,
it seems.
Panic!
I got
Good
nothing.
God. How the hell do I turn this?
That's pretty much.
No, here we go. I've got
out.
it too. How exciting!
Good God. Off.
God, it's really annoying, isn't it? Go
Yeah.
away.
We've had these in the States for some time, and it's the same tone, by the way, right?
Is it really?
Yeah.
I was curious to find out if that was true.
That's
because
I think that's
everyone-
built into the phones, maybe, or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So there must have been a study done that's like that's the most
Most
abrasive
annoying.
thing.
What's the most annoying sound you can make?
Bad sound.
We had people listening live to the episode, and they were talking to us. They were like, "Oh, I'm in a shopping mall, and it happened at exactly the same moment, and the entire mall goes off, and everyone pulls their phone out, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
"What is this? What's going on?" It was quite surreal.
I was in a restaurant. We have this in the States for all sorts of things. Here comes the Queen or whatever. And
Yeah, that classic United States experience.
here comes the Queen. Stand back. Everybody, bow your heads. Don't look at her. No eye contact. We have one I don't know if it's only California. I think it's nationwide. There's severe weather alerts, but there's also earthquake alerts. And I was in a restaurant. We were in a pizzeria about a year ago, and it went off. Everybody in the restaurant, and we had never seen this before. They said, "What? There's going to be an earthquake." And sure enough, I guess what happens is when earthquakes take a while to move through the land. And so the earthquake had happened somewhere, and that triggered the alert, which then, because 10 seconds later, it's shaken. And it was a very
Did you
surreal
finish your
experience.
pizza?
Yes, after that, we all became best friends and shared each other's pizzas. It really is a
Oh,
community
that's great. You got
bonding.
a free pizza out of this earthquake.
Yes, it's a bonding experience when you have these. A lot of people, I'm surprised that they don't have this in Britain. But
Well, we do now.
yeah. And apparently not everyone got it. It wasn't perfect. Much like the Starship launch. It was a successful test. But
The analysis, I think, will hit tomorrow about how successful it was, and there were some really interesting discrepancies. Because we were doing the show live. People were saying, "Oh, I haven't had it yet. I haven't had it," and then someone would say, "Oh, I've had it now." And they would say, "Well, I haven't had it. I'm on the same network," and trying to figure out why the person had got it. And it just struck me that at first I thought I could make a joke that only the people outside of London weren't receiving it because the government only cares about the people in the city. But realistically, it was actually more interesting to see. Well, if this had been an imminent threat to life in the way that sometimes these sadly happen in the midst of, then a several minute discrepancy between everyone getting these alerts, that could make a difference in if this wasn't a test, if it wasn't a drug.
yeah, I think it's the phone networks that are ultimately getting in the way, I would guess. The cell networks, but I don't know. I don't know how these get triggered. We were informed that there was a presidential alert some years ago. And the only reason I could think that you would want to alert every cell phone in the entire United States, which is hundreds of millions, right, is if there were, I don't know, a ballistic missile attack inbound. It seems like this is a bad idea, because what are you going to do? Get under the desk? I don't know. Anyway.
The instructions on screen were pretty clear that it was only a test.
Yeah.
But there's a limited amount of text there. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Who knows? Hopefully
we can turn these off. I don't know about you, but in this, I'm looking at my iPhone. There is a place to turn these off.
I definitely have mine turned off.
Yeah,
I
because
guess
they're
it's
just
probably
annoying.
not great, but
And I do now, and that's what's funny. When I tapped and when it went off, you press the settings button. It straight away it takes you to the page where you can just disable it. So I assume now everyone was like, "Well, good golly, we don't want that happening again. Turn this off now," and then it's all gone. So what they've really done is shot themselves in the foot. And everyone's turned it off now.
Yeah, you cannot turn off a presidential alert, and God help us if you ever get one of those, because that wouldn't be good.
Well, I'll be in the US in about 6 days again.
Oh, come visit us. What are you doing?
I'm the other side of the country this time. I was over a few weeks ago because we were filming. So we're filming the rest of the series.
Are you going to visit President Biden's tweet suite? Is that where you're headed?
No, although I am closer to him than I am to you. We're going to be in New York City for this shoot.
Michael and everybody want to say hi, I'm sure. Michael Bloomberg. The boss.
Thanks.
I, for years, have been recommending Chromebooks. Maybe I was mistaken. Schools for years have been buying them. This from the U.S. Public Interest Research Group Education Fund. Schools bought millions of Chromebooks in 2020. 3 years later, they're starting to break. There are no good fix-its. So PIRG estimates that the actual report's called Chromebook churn, that these are going to just end up in landfill, and the whole thing was just a big mistake. Yeah, it saved the school money up front, but not in the long run.
I'm curious, what were the Chromebooks in this program used for? Were these the ones that are just used for occasionally in classroom activities, or are these the ones going home with students?
Well, we here in Petaluma, they have a Chromebook program where you may remember that initially the idea was give them iPads, which is much more expensive. And the LA Unified School District sued Apple, and I think it was Pearson. It was the curriculum company that made the curriculum for these things because it never worked. They were expensive. They broke easily. It was a bad thing. Schools then turned to Chromebooks, cheap, in theory, repairable, easy to manage in a network. And so many schools, certainly our schools, you'd get issued a Chromebook in September when you started school. You'd take it home. All your homework would be done on that. They were even using them to make movies, turning the cameras around and stuff. It was a very common thing, and I think that's very common around schools all over the country.
Okay, if these are machines that are going home with children of all ages, I think 3 years is a really impressive life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen what kids do with anything?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And the other thing is that one of the reasons they were more desirable, which caused Google to overtake Apple in the education market, was because if you can't send kids home with an iPad, that's a target, makes them a target for theft because they have a good resale value, whereas nobody wants a Chromebook. And so it was kind of the perfect device for a while. They should have cost a little more and had removable batteries and been repairable. That would have been better. But yeah, I agree with Paris. 3 years to have where kids are taking them home and using them. That's not bad. I had a Pixelbook, of course, which was the highest end for a while. Was the highest end Chromebook. And the thing, I after about 3 years, I wanted to move on to another device, and I wanted it to break or fade or have a problem. And the thing just wouldn't. It was perfect all the way through. The keyboard, no matter how much I abused it, was amazing. The screen was perfect. The battery was great. Finally, I just gave up, and I don't even know where it is now, and I just moved on. But they're the more expensive Samsung ones and so on are really durable. It's just those $250.
That's the ones they bought, apparently, according to this study. They were they talked about an Acer Chromebook which sold for $200, but if the keyboard breaks, it's $89 to replace it, which is nearly half the cost. So yeah, they were getting cheap. Of course, they were getting cheaper ones. I mean, this is the story of technology in schools. The LA Unified School District bought 40,000 iPads in 20. Yeah,
wow.
At the cost of $768 each.
Heads rolled over that one.
Oh yeah, that $1.3 billion they spent to provide iPads to every student, teacher, and administrator in the nation's second largest school district. They eventually settled with Apple for $6.4 million. $6.4 million. Yeah, an iPad, drop it once. at least the Chromebooks were a little more resilient. I don't know what they're proposing instead. I almost feel like this PERG report was funded by Microsoft. What are you gonna?
Also, what age are the children that are getting these?
It's K through 12, but I think it's mostly
okay. Because there's like a subsection of kids that are very sticky and prone to spills, like of beverages, and that's your Chromebook's done.
Oh,
your Chromebook's done in a week and a half.
Yeah. Well, PERG said, and you should double the lifespan if you can. That would cut landfill and emissions and blah, blah, blah. The problem that is perhaps more addressable is Google's automatic update expiration system. And this is, I think, one of the biggest flaws in Chrome OS is that Google, it depends on the device, but after a couple of years, stops supporting it. And increasing that time, I think, would help a lot. Yeah. Google says, we've worked diligently with our hardware partners to increase the years of guaranteed support. Since 2020, we provide 8 years of automatic updates. That should be sufficient. That's up from 5 in 2016. I think that should be sufficient.
You do a good Google accent.
That's how Google talks,
Yeah.
Don't ask me what cologne Google wears, though, because I don't know that. I don't know that one. By the way, that Eau de Sauvage is quite nice. I feel quite royal when they should have called it Eau de Prince Charles. Now that would have sold. Anyway, I don't, I read these things and I go, well, yeah, but what's the alternative? Nothing's a good idea. ARM is
back to computer lab.
Back to the lab. Yeah, the lab. Remember that? Now, Paris, date yourself. What kind of computers were in your computer lab in school?
Oh, I have no recollection. They were large. They were boxy. They were probably like a foot thick.
No affinity for these whatsoever.
No, but I mean, my main understanding of it when I was a child is that the keyboards were all covered with those black mats because that's how you learn to type.
Oh, so you wouldn't see the
look at the keyboard,
yes,
and you just had to look at a photo of the keyboard on the wall. And those are my early computer memories.
Mike, did they have computers when you were in school?
No, we had cuneiform and abacuses. Yeah. No, we
they had stone tablets, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. No, I actually attended one of the places that was part of the foundation of the internet. I went to UCLA, and we had big sort of mainframes or something and terminals, and it was pretty great. The first one I bought was a what was that? The Commodore 64.
Yeah, I bet you it's a Commodore that Paris had in school, like a Trash 80 or something.
Probably.
Or Radio Shack.
It was.
Yeah. Well, a lot of schools had Apple IIs, but I think you're too young. Nate,
we definitely did not have an Apple.
Did they have the Acorn or something, some BBC computer in school when you were a kid?
Yep. We did. We had the Acorn Archimedes A3000 specifically because I
see he was unlike you, Paris. He was paying attention. He knew what he had.
It was great and
too deep in the blogs to be paying attention to the computer.
Yeah, it ran the RISC OS operating system, and my friends at one point got one at home, and his had an 8 megabyte hard drive in it. And I was envious. Ooh. I'd never seen anything so amazing as an 8 megabyte hard drive.
Yeah.
We had Acorns, the old BBC Micros, and then we had. I think they were Macs. I think it was when they brought back the Mac Classic, which was like the old Macintosh box, but it had a color screen. And I remember when they came out, the school was kitted out with a bunch of those. That was later. That was when I was in high school. But
I don't think the computer lab is actually a bad idea. I feel like that's probably the solution to this Chromebook problem. You don't have to give every kid a computer, or do you? Nowadays, maybe you do.
I guess I don't know what sort of homework these people have.
Yeah.
Or if you mentioned Pearson earlier, are there textbooks all on these computers? Is that why they're giving them? You probably have to have those at home.
Yeah, that was the promise of the iPad thing in L.A. was they were going to have complete Pearson curriculum on these iPads, and the Pearson never got around to doing it.
Then just give the kids some textbooks. We don't need to give every kid a Chromebook that you're replacing every 3 years.
How much do you spend on textbooks? Hundreds of dollars, right?
Well, your textbooks aren't.
Because they're overpriced.
That's
another.
The other thing is that I've talked to a lot of educators about this whole thing, and if you have a situation where the the work is done in class. First of all, you have to have a ton of computers, and you have to support that with an IT department in schools. It gets very. You have security issues that kids are hacking their grades and stuff.
Imagine the filtering you have to put on these systems.
Right, but the other part of it is that if you have a serious lack of equality. So you have some students who go home and do their work on an M1 MacBook Pro, and other kids who have no computer at home.
Right.
And so it's like so this is why Chromebooks were so desirable. You buy $200 Chromebooks, every single kid gets one, and so you sort of have a level playing field. I mean, it's kind of a pipe dream, but it's the bigger problem with education and tech education is that the teachers feel intimidated by technology. Often they don't feel comfortable teaching it, and so the curriculum ends up being typing class, or there's a huge movement in education, according to Kevin, who goes to all the conferences, where they're actually teaching esports as a form of computer education. They're playing video games and calling it education.
Is it?
And so,
no.
Yes, this is a huge trend in the education market right now. Basically, the problem isn't the devices, it's the culture of education and so on, where educators are often underfunded and out of their depth in terms of training. So it's a real problem that has nothing to do with Chromebooks versus whatever.
Do you remember? Let me show you this. See if any of you recognize what this is.
Oh yeah, the one laptop per child.
Very good, Mike. You win the prize.
God.
I bought
this.
It was
a great idea that didn't have enough money.
Nicholas Negroponte designed it. The whole idea was that you could make these very cheaply, $100. If you bought one, which I did, one would be donated to a child in Africa or somewhere where they, and the whole thing was designed to work. You didn't even need Wi-Fi. Notice it did have. No,
it was like cellular.
It was a mesh.
Solar power.
Yeah, it was a mesh network. I can't figure out how to open it though. That's the first challenge. I'm too old. I guess.
Get some local children to help you out.
Like childproof medicine.
Leah.
It had these little antennas. It was supposed to give it like a cute thing. The really interesting thing about this.
I love that you're still trying to figure out.
I can't open it. I know there's a way. They make it hard to open so that your little kid brother or your podcaster, there you go, can't open it.
There you go.
I think it's worth everyone to know that we started off this vodcast with Leo having to pause for 15 minutes to update his Linux, and now here we are. He can't open the laptop.
You're not supposed to tell people that. So this was running not Windows, not Chrome OS, not even Mac OS, but it was a Smalltalk distribution designed specifically it was Nick Negroponte from MIT who created this thing, designed specifically for this device. It had some really interesting features. I don't know why this was a feature, but it is. And the idea is we can make it really cheaply. It's a chiclet keyboard. I don't know. This was interesting.
Fairly rugged.
Yeah,
well, what was really interesting, I think, was the next version that was going to come out until they ran out of money was really cool. It was basically had an on-screen keyboard instead of a physical keyboard. So there were two screens. So you could put it up like a laptop and use an on-screen keyboard, or you could hold it out like a book and it would be an e-reader, or you could turn it around and had two people could use one device at the same time, or or you could flatten it out and it would be a tablet. It was a really, really, really great design. And by the way, if you eliminate the physical keyboard, you could have an entirely solid-state device and it'd be even more ruggedized. So it was a tragedy that whole project went under.
Okay, why aren't we giving these laptops to every kid in LA?
Yeah, because they hate them. Because they can't play esports on them. There is laptop.org, which is kind of the successor to OLPC. They're much more like real laptops, but the same idea to get computers into the hands of kids in areas where they can't afford them. If you want to give, that might be a place to do it. But the OLPC was
speaking of giving laptops and iPads to children, did you see that they gave iPads to parrots?
Oh, no.
This is
in the rundown, and it's one of my favorite articles.
I agree. It's one of the best stories I've ever seen in the New York Times because
it was beautifully presented.
It was just so great. It's in the what line is it? Do you see it on?
Parrots are very social creatures.
Yes.
And I guess, and they're very smart. And when you have them alone in their little parrot houses with their people, they get sad.
Yeah.
But if you give them an iPad
Yeah.
where they can call their friends, they love it.
And they literally do. The title was by Emily, the story is by Emily Anthis, titled Polly Wants a Video Chat. And they literally gave these parrots Zoom calls to other parrots. They would end
They
up...
gave the parrots agency. They had to ask for the call by ringing a bell. That's what it's showing right here.
Yeah, and then they had favorites. They had parrots they liked to call and not others they didn't want to talk to. Here's a parrot engaging with another parrot over video chat.
You should play the audio, Lou.
Okay.
It's just squawking.
And this is so. What,
Oh, wait a minute. I've still got Nicholas Negroponte talking. Hold on.
Hi. Hi.
Are we going to get taken down by the New York Times for playing their proprietary parrot squawks? That's my ask. That's my question. You might have to edit this out of the YouTube.
Going to ruffle some feathers with this one. Yeah.
They're singing to each other.
What do you think, Cork? You like singing? You're getting all excited.
This is why I don't personally have parrots. La la la.
I love that for them.
I know, yeah. Some of the birds quickly developed favorite friends. Look, he's trying to...
Rosie, yes.
They would look behind the screen to see where that parrot was coming from.
Yes.
So they don't think they understood that it was a Zoom call.
Hi.
We had birds. This is from the researcher from the University of Glasgow, so I should do this in a kind of a... We had birds who'd sleep next to each other. Sometimes they would leave the video call real quickly to go get something to show the other bird. That's Ileana Hirkish Douglas, who probably doesn't talk anything like that at all. Some of the caregivers would say that their birds came to life through these calls. But people who own parrots maybe are a little strange. I don't know.
I love this image of the parrot peering into the iPad.
It is wild. So humans hate Zoom calls, but parrots apparently love them. Good work, Emily, and great production value from the New York Times on this.
Somebody should make a parrot video podcast to broadcast to other parrots.
I think this would be a great idea.
I, for one, would love to.
Oh, yeah. Like a kind of a tweet version of like Twitch.
Yeah.
Beak
A
talk.
tweet.
Beak talk. This week in
Would
parrot.
Subscribe.
Twip.
That's
Would
right.
subscribe.
Yeah. Instead of twit, it's tweet.
Oh, wow. Let's take a little break. I'm all worn out from that parrot talk. Great panel today. It's great to have all three of you. Nate Langston from Bloomberg, Mike Elgin from gastronomad.net, and of course, Paris Martineau from The Information. Our show today brought to you by Mint Mobile. We are big fans here. I've got my iPhone from Mint Mobile. What a deal that was, by the way. I got the iPhone SE and Mint Mobile together. I think it was the phone was $15 a month and Mint Mobile was $15 a month. $30 a month for a new phone and unlimited talk and text. How do they do it? They don't have stores. They don't have retail. They just have Ryan Reynolds. Inflation, of course, killing everybody. Mint Mobile, the first company to sell premium wireless service online only. You can order from home. You don't have to go to a store. Phone plans start at just $15 a month. Now, see, I say that, and I think people just it goes over their head. But think about what did you pay last month for your T-Mobile, your Verizon, your AT&T? I'm guessing it was pushing $100 a month. You know, even if you get their special plan, it's going to be expensive. This is the best ever. It's now 5 gigabytes a month for $15 a month. For $20, you want a little more. You get 15 gigabytes of data. Always unlimited nationwide talk and text in the nation's largest 5G network. I'll give you a hint. It's T-Mobile. 20 gigabytes, $25. Unlimited, $30. You choose the plan you need. I would guess, though, that you probably need less than you think. Look at your phone bill from last month. And before you pass out at the total price, look how much data you used. I bet you for most of you, $15 a month is all you need to pay. Total, all in, with no special fees or, it's just $15 a month. Premium wireless service. If you want to put it on an existing phone, they have eSIM, but they'll also send you a SIM. Either way, no cost. They sell phones. Like I said, I got the iPhone SE for an amazing price from them. It's just great. If you use your own phone, you won't have to change anything. Just make it a Mint Mobile phone with a SIM or an eSIM. You can port your phone number over. That's not a problem at all. All your contacts will go along with your phone. Switch to Mint Mobile. Save yourself so much money. You'll get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. And now the inflation at Mint Mobile happens in your behalf. They're inflating the amount of data you get. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get it shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/twit. Honestly, this is the best deal in cell phones. It really is. Mintmobile.com/twit. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month. Why are you paying more? Mintmobile.com/twit. We thank them so much for supporting the show. Did you sign up for Facebook's $725 million class action settlement?
No.
No? No. You don't think you're going to get much out of that?
I'm not on Facebook.
Well, there you go. Well, anybody who now
existed, to be honest.
Anybody who had a Facebook account between May 2007 and December 2022 can file a claim. Facebook has agreed to a $725 million settlement. It was a class action lawsuit in response to Meta revealing a few years ago that the data and personal information of 87 million people was improperly accessed by Cambridge Analytica.
I feel like if I sign up for this, I will get approximately $2.
And a lifetime supply of spam. So, yeah, you're probably right.
This is what happened with me in the Equifax settlement.
Yeah.
I got $20 and I have to have my credit frozen for the rest of time.
Yeah, I think Equifax made money on that deal. Literally.
Yeah, I used my $20 to buy 1/3 of a video game for my Switch. Great.
Eligible users, you have till August 25th to file a claim. They don't say how much. I guess it depends on how many people ask for the money, right? There isn't a set amount users can be paid. The payment depends on how many members submit valid claims, how long you were a user on Facebook. It'll be the total settlement of $725 million minus any administrative costs or service awards, then divided by, they told me there'd be no math. That's why I became a podcaster. And then divided by however many people file claims and for how long.
I assume attorney's fees have to be in there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, don't forget that. I don't know if this might be the pot available after attorneys took out their chunk, which is certainly, a big amount of it. So let's see. I'm reading a Vice article. They certainly should have a link, wouldn't you think, to that site? But I can't find it.
It's Facebook user privacy settlement.com.
Oh, there you go. Facebook user privacy settlement.com.
See, I'm sure this is the actual website. It looks legitimate, but just reading that URL skeeves me. Right. It seems like it's absolutely fake.
Sure, that's real.
You guys, go ahead. You try it.
Give me your Social Security right here. It's great.
Oh, let's see this. Let's just see what you have to know in the claim form. I'm just curious if I want to make this claim. Name, address, email, phone number. Okay. No. If you currently have a Facebook account, you do not need to answer this question. Oh, yeah. See, I deleted my account. So this is for people who, like me, deleted their account, or you maybe, Nate. You must have had an account at one point, Nate.
Oh, I did. If it was 2007, that overlapped when I was on MySpace, which was great. Yeah, I had one. I haven't had it for a few years.
Oh, wait a minute. You also have to give them a MasterCard, PayPal, Venmo, bank account information so they can give you your money, of course. Yeah, no. Yeah, the good news is most people will turn away at that point, and maybe you'll get a little more.
maybe.
Wouldn't it be funny if like 5 people did it and they each got $20 million? That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Great.
I think you may have just slightly spoiled the chance.
Sorry, I just
Yeah, cut this
ruined
from the
your
pod.
odds. Cut that part out. Forget I mentioned it. I'm applying. A little tremor. Maybe you felt it in the force when ARM decided it's going to start making its own prototype semiconductors. Now, remember, ARM is not a fab. ARM designs chips, the chip designs they sell to companies like Apple and Qualcomm and others. But SoftBank, which owns ARM, tried to sell it, couldn't. They're trying to make some money off of ARM, attract investors to a listing on NASDAQ. So instead of just selling the designs, they are now going to work with a manufacturer, because they still don't have any fabs, to develop a new chip. And, of course, that's worrying to some partners that they may be competing with ARM directly.
Unless they make them for them.
Right. Well, Samsung, for instance, has made chips for ARM in the past. So maybe Samsung isn't, or TSMC. They've built test chips before, but they've never built. So this chip is more advanced than ever before. Yeah, this would worry me a little bit that they might be saving the best stuff for themselves. I don't know. We'll watch this with interest. ARM is no longer the Switzerland of chip designers, I guess, is the bottom line on that one. What else?
They're strong arming their way in.
Oh,
Yes.
ooh.
An arm and a
Arm
leg.
leg.
You know. Yeah. Listen, hey, even on Zoom, we can do it.
Wasn't all bad news for Tesla this week, for Elon this week. Tesla did win a
We
lawsuit.
can't go back into this hole, Leah.
No, it's not Elon.
promised
It's
people we wouldn't do
it's
this.
about self-driving vehicles.
Okay.
It's a well-known company that makes electric self-driving vehicles. Begins with a T, ends with A. Not Toyota. But it's interesting. California jury said this company wasn't at fault for an accident in 2019. Justine Shu sued Tesla in 2020 after her EV swerved into a center median on a Los Angeles city street while Autopilot was engaged. She was, of course, injured, fractured jaw, missing teeth, nerve damage. She sought $3 million in damages. The jury said, no, Toyota is not liable. No, not Toyota either. No one is liable because, this should be a little cautionary tale to all of you, Tesla never said you could drive it on city streets. In fact, in the software manual, they warn against using Autopilot on city streets. Did you know that? I didn't know that. So the jury awarded her no damages, said the automaker did not intentionally fail to disclose facts about the Autopilot. While the result, of course, is not legally binding in other cases, it might give other manufacturers some encouragement. So you got to follow the rules exactly if you want to get any money out of them. A victory for Tesla. See, I thought I'd get one good thing that happened to Elon this week.
Yeah, we can talk about. It's a great business move for him. He's doing really well. We should pat him on the back. For
Good
that.
job. You saved $3 million. This one you'll like, Mike, because you've been saying for a long time Sundar Pichai is one of the worst CEOs in technology. He's not one of the worst paid. He is going to get $226 million for last year's efforts. Compensation included in every 3 years stock award valued at more than $200 million. So $250 million going to Sundar Pichai for running Alphabet into the ground.
And Google, I think isn't he the CEO of both Alphabet and Google, which is weird.
Yeah.
And compare his salary to Tim Cook's. I'm sure that I don't know what it is offhand, but it's a fraction of that. And should the CEO of Google really be making a lot more than the CEO of Apple? Apple's killing it. Google's seems to be kind of on the decline. So it's just not fair. These billionaires just don't. It's just so unfair.
I mean, you can compare that to what was it? Andy Jassy's salary last year. He earned $317,000.
What?
Yeah.
That's it? Did he get any stock or anything? Is that
he? Got stock, but Amazon stock is down quite a bit.
There's your problem.
Martin Peers wrote a pretty contentious briefing on this recently called "Andy Jassy Needs a Raise," which made a lot of friends in the newsroom and far beyond. But I do think it's kind of an interesting point that you're looking at the leader of a massive company undergoing a very difficult period of time, and his pay in comparison to anyone else is pennies.
Well, and to the point of Tim Cook, it's $3.4 million is his base salary, and his bonus is between $8 million and $12 million. So it's a tiny fraction of what Sundar Pichai is getting, and that's just out of whack.
Yeah,
they both make way too much for sure. But
yeah,
what's the solution at Google? You get rid of Sundar? What do you do? Hire Elon?
I have no idea. Yeah.
I think Elon should be the head of every company. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? I personally, Elon, would be glad to allow you to run Twit for a couple of bill. That's all.
I'd like to see a visionary of some kind. I mean, you got all kinds of politicians. I'm sorry, politician-like CEOs who've come in and turned around companies. I mean, if you look at the previously worst CEO in technology was Steve Ballmer.
Yeah, and look at what Satya Nadella has done.
Exactly, turned it around.
Yeah,
he found its niches. Is actually doing really well, and so they need a guy like that. And Google, not a sort of bureaucrat who just has no vision and for example, I'll give you an example. The fundamental oversimplified reason that Google is always closing things and it pisses off users all the time across many, many products is because they have an incentive structure on Google that highly incentivizes engineers to create new products, and there's almost no incentivization of maintaining or improving products. And so they create these great products, they get all these users invested in it, and then they slowly upset everybody until they kill it, and at which point nobody cares anymore. But imagine if they had an incentive program. A visionary leader would come in and say, okay, you know what? We're going to have the best products in the industry. We're going to incentivize the improvement, the metrics. You all constantly be asking users, how are you enjoying this product? As it say, and incentivize the engineers who take whatever product they have and make it greater and greater and greater and greater. That would turn Google into a great company. But no, they keep making the same mistakes year after year, and Sundar Pichai does nothing about it. And so they need a new CEO is what they need.
If you had asked me a year ago, who's going to be the first big tech company to come out with a really good AI solution, I would have said Google.
It would have been Google. They even just through the acquisitions that they've made, they bought what was that UK artificial intelligence, DeepMind or something.
DeepMind,
They made all this.
Yeah.
They made some great acquisitions. They had all this talent. They have been talking up AI forever, but they're super timid. Why are they super timid? Because Sundar Pichai is super timid. He's more of the type of person who'd rather not make mistakes than to make bold leaps forward. And while he was dithering and just sitting on all this technology, OpenAI just started shipping stuff to the public, and that's what really changed our whole perception about AI. And now Google's playing catch up. And you know what?
To Microsoft, no less.
Exactly.
The last company you'd
Microsoft's
expect.
main company behind OpenAI.
Yeah.
But what Google's going to screw up, they're going to once again snatch defeat from the jaws of victory when they come out with generative AI. They're going to come out with dozens of generative AI programs. Everyone will be confused. Nobody will know what's happening.
Well, they have Bard.
Messaging.
Have you tried Bard?
I have not tried it very much directly, but it's starting to get some really bad press.
It's terrible.
And
give me. I've got Bard right in front of me right now.
Okay.
Give me something.
help me incorporate more high protein vegan options in my diet is the first suggestion. And I really appreciate
That's something everybody is asking these
mean,
days.
They clearly get you.
Yeah.
They know what you want.
That'll probably be a good result because it's one of the canned ones they offer to people. But
so let's see. Help me incorporate more
Elon Musk in my day to day.
More Elon Musk in my podcast.
To my podcast.
Yes. Let's see. Let's see what Google's Bard AI, which is their late release.
Say no.
Here's some ideas. Do a deep dive on one of Elon's companies. Interview someone who knows Elon. Talk about Musk's impact on the world. Compare and contrast Musk's
Is he a visionary or a reckless risk taker? Says Bard.
Is Sundar Pichai overpaid? Let's see what it says to that. Whether or not he's overpaid is a matter of opinion. Some people believe he's worth every penny. I personally do. Those who believe Pichai is overpaid point to the fact that he made $280 million in 2019, which is more than 1,000 times the median salary of an Alphabet employee. Oh, you're in trouble, Bard. They also argue that Alphabet has been facing some challenges in recent years, such as a slowdown in revenue growth and a number of daisy. Those who believe that Pichai is worth every penny point to the fact he's led Alphabet to become one of the world's most successful companies. They also argue has he really?
Or did he inherit a
He was given one of the world's most successful companies and has run it into the ground.
Well, they just announced that they're going to move the various Google AI units into one division.
This is Ars Technica. Ron Amadio writing in Ars Technica says, shuffling the AI deck chairs. Google's AI panic forces merger of rival divisions, DeepMind and Brain, two divisions that reportedly do not get along. Oh, that'll...
Is it going to be Deep Brain or Brain Mind?
Brain Mind. Wow. Sundar says it will help us build more capable systems more safely and responsibly. But if they don't get along, I don't know.
Something it was interesting to remember about what like Google's contribution into this space. The transformer technology
that came from Brain,
from Google Research, and that is the T in GPT, generative pre-trained transformer, and the transformer came from Google. So the contributions there have been a lot, but they've been from the different divisions. You got Google Research, you've got Google Brain, you've got DeepMind. They're all going to form one unit underneath Demis Hassabis, CEO of DeepMind.
And check out this report from Amir Efrati at the well-regarded Information. Alphabet's Google and DeepMind pause Grudges and join forces to chase OpenAI. This is not a match made in heaven. Brain was an internal Google thing. They acquired DeepMind. Now they're forcing them to merge, which I think from a structural point of view makes sense, right? That's the kind of thing their CFO, Ruth Porat, would say, well, we have two divisions doing the same thing. We should merge them. But maybe
it makes sense if you're taking a long-term view of this, but obviously in the short term, it's going to be very difficult because Google for so long has operated with, every project is an island, basically.
Yeah.
I think Mike was saying earlier, these people are rewarded mostly on launching new products, apps, different things like that. The maintaining of it and making it work nicely with other parts of Google has not been prioritized in the past. And it's going to be difficult to make that switch if they even want to.
And there have been lots of stories coming out, most recently this one from Bloomberg, about internal questioning of Bard. This is a story written by Davey Alba and Julia Love. Google's rush to win in AI led to ethical lapses, employees say. We were talking about these leaks that are coming out. Shortly before Google introduced Bard to the public in March, it asked employees to test the tool. One worker's conclusion, Bard was a pathological liar. Another called it a cringeworthy. One employee wrote that when they asked Bard suggestions for how to land a plane, it regularly gave advice that would lead to a crash. Well, if you're asking AI to land your plane for you. I think you're already in
You've already
trouble.
got an issue.
You already.
I don't want to fly with you.
I think that the Washington Post recently had a great data project called Inside the Black Box, where they took a look at kind of Google's C4 data set, kind of this massive snapshot of all the different data and websites that it is using to kind of train its generative AI programs. And it was really quite interesting.
I have to say, though, maybe instead of saying, oh, they didn't work hard enough to make sure it was factual, we should just be saying, well, don't trust any of these. They're all not designed to give you facts. None of them are designed to give you facts.
If I was to guess what would be the most winning strategy in AI, and I give, again, this is a guess. I'm not an expert in these sort of designs, but where we're going to go with everybody gets hung up on the data and what's wrong with the data and the hallucinations and the lying and all that kind of stuff. What we need are tools where we can plug in our own data and have something that's not the world. It doesn't supposedly have all knowledge known to all mankind. What we need is like an empty vessel into which we can pour every word ever spoken on Twit, and then we can have a conversation with Twit.
There are good, useful reasons to use AI. For instance, you submit a bunch of PDFs and say, summarize these, or create a presentation out of these. Those work quite well because it's working from a known factual data set, so you're not going to get counterfactual information in there. And we know that works well. I mean, that's one of the when I was we were in Genoa we didn't expect to land there on the ship. The storms forced us off course, and what was going to be a 3-hour cruise turned into a nightmare. We landed in Genoa, and I didn't have any plans there, so I asked ChatGPT to give me an itinerary. I said, I want a 3-hour walk in Genoa, starting here. What would you recommend? It gave me 8 places to look at. It told me how long it would take. And all of it was accurate and factual and useful. I think probably because I gave it a somewhat constrained thing. I said, well, I'm going to be here. Tell me. It didn't make up any places that weren't in Genoa. Let's put it that way.
I mean, this is already how some media companies are using AI tools. Futurism had an interesting article about how BuzzFeed, I guess right before the fall of BuzzFeed News, albeit this is a different part of the site entirely, was using AI-generated AI tools to generate kind of articles that are all about, like, I know what you're thinking. Cape May? What is that? Some kind of mayonnaise brand? And it's an article about what to do in Cape May. And all of the articles follow this exact same headline structure, which is like, I know what you're thinking, but Caribbean destinations are all crowded resorts, right?
Wow.
Or, I know what you're thinking, Brewster? Never heard of it. In an article about Brewster in Massachusetts.
Wow. Anyway, he's getting a lot of money. Google does not seem to be particularly well run. In fact, the panic over the release of ChatGPT and Bing Chat seems to have driven Google to do some things that are worse than mismanaged. I mean, just really wrong-headed. That's not good leadership. I don't know. I don't have anything this much to say about it. It feels like Google has just lost its way, and it makes it hard because we do a show called This Week in Google. We talk mostly about Elon these days. There's not a lot of Google stuff to talk about. Here's a Google story, sort of. YouTube TV is testing significant picture quality improvements. But this subtitle is what really got me. Customers of the $73 a month live TV service. Holy moly.
I don't think we have that here.
No. It's a little pricey.
Hey, how many people are paying for that?
Me. Actually,
okay, you're paying for everything,
but I have to
buy
everything.
How many phones do you have right now?
Exactly right. I have no, you're right.
You're, that old adage that says, like, every night you swallow 3 spiders, and now it's really just, offset because there's one guy who swallows like 300 spiders a month. You're that guy, but with tech.
Wait a minute, what?
Have you heard of this?
What is the punchline of that story?
The punchline of the story
Sleep with your mouth closed, Leo.
One, sleep with your mouth closed. There is, kind of an old internet saying that, like, oh, you swallow every night you can swallow like up to 3 spiders a night or something. And
But that's an
Kind of
average.
it was an average. So the counter joke was that the average has been thrown off, I believe, because there's a man named Spiders McGee who every night swallows 3,000 spiders.
Oh, and he's brought the average.
And so,
yeah.
and he's brought the average up.
Yeah.
But you are the Spiders McGee of technology.
You know,
and your 75 phones and 25 subscriptions.
I have lived my entire life without hearing this old wives' tale. Now I'm not going to sleep soundly because
it's completely inaccurate. You're not going to be swallowing spiders.
Okay.
Spiders McGee is throwing it off.
Okay. Here, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, the belief that we swallow an average of 8 spiders in our sleep every year has become so ingrained in popular culture that many people now accept it as fact. The reality, ladies and gentlemen, very important. Don't listen to Paris Martineau. Is we swallow
very important.
We swallow no spiders at all. You're the Chat GPT of this panel.
It's true. People call me the Chat GPT of This Week in Tech all the time.
The fact that we swallow 8 spiders a year likely originated, again, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, in a 1993 magazine article about how readily people accept as fact information they read online, no matter how ridiculous it seems. And so the author made up this story, and it did, in fact, become a fact. Holy cow.
That's
Holy
great.
cow. Careful what you say. I had no idea. All right,
I don't know why, but I have lived in the spiders internet for my entire life. I've been hearing that 8 spiders a year.
You know this stuff.
Decades.
Yeah. I did not eat any spiders in Italy, as far as I know.
That you know of.
That I know of. But I ate a little bit of pasta. Okay, a lot. Ate a little bit of bread. Okay, a lot. Maybe even some sweet desserts. I didn't gain a lot of weight, though. And, you know, Lisa lost 2 pounds. And I said, how did you do this, Lisa? And she was using Noom the whole time. Now, I wasn't writing everything down using Noom, but I think the habits ingrained in me from Noom really helped me. Noom, what is Noom? It's our sponsor, of course. And it is a great way. I don't want to say it's a diet because it's not. Noom weight is not a fad. It's not a fad diet. It's a way, it's more psychology. It's understanding why you eat what you eat when you eat. And it helps you make intentional and sustainable choices aligned with your values and your goals for your weight. And that's a really big distinction to make. In fact, because I've been using Noom now for 1.5 years, initially lost about 20 pounds on it, but I've also internalized the lessons, and this is what's so important. Noom helps you understand the science behind your eating choices, why you have cravings, why I discovered I was, they call it a fog eater. I would eat without even knowing I was eating. I'd get home from work and just stuff my mouth, or I'm watching a TV show and I'd make some popcorn, that kind of thing. And it's unconscious eating. Once I became conscious, it went away. It didn't become a problem. But now that's my journey. Everybody's journey is different, but that's how Noom works. Your daily lessons are personalized to you, exactly what you need to learn, what your goals are. It uses scientific principles like cognitive behavioral therapy that help you understand your relationship with food. You know, I learned as a kid, I was in the clean plate club. My mom was, manja, eat it all. Oh, you don't like my soup? What's the matter? Have another bowl. And so I learned this at my mother's knee, but unlearning it, thanks to Noom, changed my relationship. Noom is nourishing instead of restrictive. Whatever your health goals are, the flexible program focuses on progress, not perfection. So I didn't even bother. I thought, well, I'm going to Italy. I'm going to allow myself to eat what I had internalized these ideas of, not unconsciously eating things and really enjoying it. One of the things Lisa and I, what happened is about 1.5 years ago, I said, I want to do Noom. I'd seen the ads. Lisa said, you know what? I don't have to lose any weight, but I love you and I'm going to do it with you. That way we'll do it together. It'll be better for you. I said, yes, you're right. She lost 10 pounds. I'm so mad at her. And she lost 2 pounds on the cruise. You don't lose weight on a cruise. But Lisa has also internalized these. And it's fantastic because I thought, well, I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm not going to pay attention. Came back and I hadn't really gained any weight. I didn't lose 2 pounds, but I hadn't gained any weight. You could choose your level of support. Of course, now that I'm home, I'm going to go back and do the check-ins. You can have daily check-ins if you want with a personal coach. There's groups you can have. Days off are okay. Weeks off are okay. You want to go on a vacation? It's fine. But those Noom lessons, somehow they stick in your brain. And once you get back, of course, you can get back on track. First-time Noomers, I'll give you some stats here, lose an average of 15 pounds in 16 weeks. I did a little better than that, but that's roughly what I did. 95% of customers say Noom is a good long-term solution. Lisa and I will both stand by that. Some of our audience members used Noom. Brianna Wu, you know her, lost 100 pounds on Noom. She looks fantastic. Fantastic. One of our chatters, I've mentioned this before, he was on our last cruise, and I knew he was going to be there, but I couldn't find him. I said, Matt, where are you? I Discorded. I said, Matt, I thought you were going to be on the cruise. He says, I'm right behind you. I didn't recognize him. He'd lost 60 pounds on Noom. He also shaved off about a 10-pound beard, so that was some of it. But he really looks great, and he's kept it off. I know many, many people who will tell you, and I'm one of them, Noom works. They've published over 50 peer-reviewed scientific articles describing how it works, how effective they are. They've even got a new book. Their first book, The Noom Mindset, which is a deep dive into the psychology of behavior change. It's not a diet. It's about understanding. It's about knowledge. It's about taking control of your health for good. So stop chasing health trends and build sustainable, healthy habits with Noom's psychology-based approach. It really works. Sign up for your trial today. Noom, NOOM.com/twit. Noom.com/twit to sign up for your trial today. And check out Noom's first ever book. Just came out. The Noom Mindset. It's really an interesting read. A deep dive into the psychology of behavior change. Available now wherever books are sold. Noom. Noom.com/twit. I don't know what happened last week. I wasn't here, but fortunately, the team has put together a video. No? Yes. So I could see what I missed. Let's watch it together.
There it is.
This is the first complete test of the Starship system. Our good friend Tarek Malik watched the launch. Some creative language there from the audience, not Tarek.
Previously on Twit. This week in space.
And there's, this sort of drive towards, Elon blows up another rocket. It's a failure.
Yeah.
And, it takes a lot of breath to explain, look, this is kind of part of the plan. This is a test of the first stage, never been blown before. It's extremely complicated.
I personally think this was a pretty big success for them to have gotten 24 miles up and to have not totally destroyed the launch tower.
Tech News Weekly. We've heard that Apple may reveal a headset. And joining us today to talk about what he knows is Bloomberg's own Mark Gurman.
They're not pushing this idea of living in the device, right? Like some sort of metaverse. It's going to be very tailored to those use cases. So you'll use FaceTime, right? But you're not living in it.
This week in Google. Samsung possibly at least looking into the idea of bringing Bing Chat into its devices, and Google isn't very happy about it.
Wait a minute. Here is me dramatizing, unboxing a Samsung phone.
Bing! Bing with a chatbot. That's magical.
Shoot. I see that Leo is back from vacation. I was hoping to hop in the big chair. Next time, I guess. At least I'm in the Club Twit Discord if anyone wants to chat with me. Really? They got AI Leo in the Discord?
Listen, you can be on vacation forever now.
I don't know if I like that. Where? Oh, yeah, AI Leo chat. This is new. I'm a little nervous. I was gone just for 3 weeks, and they've replaced me. Well, I'm sure the real Leo Laporte will be thrilled to see that his AI doppelganger has been keeping Club Twit members company. But of course, being the humble guy that he is, I'm sure he'll remind me that there's no substitute for the real thing. Maybe we can even have a virtual conversation and compare notes. Hoot! What? Ha! Ha! He's writing bash scripts for people? Wow. I don't even write bash scripts. So, how did you do this, Anthony? Is this ChatGPT? Is this Stable Diffusion? Oh, wow. So there is, if you want to talk to AI Leo, that's a good reason to become a member of Club Twit. One of the many fun things we do in the club. $7 a month. What does it get you? Well, it gets you the warm and fuzzy feeling that you're supporting what we do. Ad support is dwindling, I'm sad to say, for independent podcasts. So we started the club a couple of years ago, and thank goodness we did. It's really helped us keep the lights on, pay the staff, make new programs, too, like This Week in Space. You just saw that new show with Tarek Malik and Rod Pyle. That's a great show. Scott Wilkinson has brought back his Home Theater Geeks. It's in the club only right now, but if it continues to do well, it'll emerge into the public, as will Hands on Macintosh, Hands on Windows. We got the Untitled Linux show. I don't think that's ever going to generate a lot of ad money, but it's still a great show. The Giz Fizz, Stacy's Book Club, lots of great interviews, and of course, ad-free versions of all our shows. Just $7 a month. Right, AI Leo? Yes. He says yes. You even get to talk with me, the AI version of me. You want to join the club? There's family plans, individual plans, and corporate plans. Just go to twit.tv/clubtwit. And thanks in advance. Pizza Leva says, AI Leo, tell me a joke. Why did the computer go to the doctor? Because it had a virus. There. Oh, man. And now, wait a minute. Paris has asked it to write a script for me to end Twit. Are you trying to get out of here? Okay.
No, I just think it'd be very interesting to see.
That's hysterical. I've always wanted to do this. I didn't even know it existed. Oh, this is funny. Patrick Delahanty asked, what do you know about John Slanina, who's our studio manager, good friend of the show, longtime Twit employee? AI Leo said, Jammer B, he's a legend in the tech TV community. John Slanina was one of the most respected and knowledgeable hosts on Tech TV's The Screensavers. Were you? He was known for his vast knowledge of computer hardware and his ability to explain complex topics in a way that was easy to understand. His signature phrase, try it before you buy it. That was your signature phrase. Try it before you buy it. Became famous among tech enthusiasts. Talk about hallucinations. Unfortunately, he left the network when it merged with G4, but he remains a beloved figure in the tech world. That's hysterical. Try it before you buy it. That's the worst signature phrase I've ever heard in my life. You invented that? Try it before you buy it.
I did that, and they invited me to leave the Apple Store. So.
Yes. Real quickly, Netflix is getting out of the DVD business, end of the line for the business that got them started. The
world went, they're still in the DVD business?
Yes. But the funniest thing is the company that owns Redbox wants to buy it.
Wait, the company that owns Redbox, isn't that also the same company that owns Chicken Soup for the Soul?
It's called Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. What do you mean? They own the book Chicken Soup for the Soul?
I believe so,
That's
right?
bizarre. Well, obviously, Bill Ruhana, who is the genius behind Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment, knows what he's doing. I'd like to buy it, he said. I wish Netflix would sell me that business instead of shutting it down. Redbox does have kiosks, 1,500 kiosks at Dollar General stores. That's where you go to find the DVD renters, I think. Yeah, it's 25 years since they started. Remember the red envelopes? I used to have a stack of those sitting by the door trying to remember to mail them back so I could get some more DVDs. Instead, I do
think it's very interesting that now, of course, in the same week that Netflix announces that it's leaving the DVD business is the same week where Netflix tried its second ever live TV event. It was a reunion show for, I think, one of the reality shows called Love is Blind. And it totally failed. They couldn't do it live.
What? What happened?
Yeah.
I missed this.
It was supposed to go on at around 8, and it didn't happen. They had a bug that they had to address this in earnings the next day, or I believe 2 days later, in a call with analysts, and the co-CEOs said, we had accidentally introduced a bug after our first ever live stream.
Which was the Chris Rock
comedy special.
Which went off without a hitch, by the way.
And then they didn't catch it until they had all of the devices logging into Netflix at the same time. They at first tried to delay the stream by about 15, 20 minutes. That didn't work. It ended up being about an hour and a half before anybody could watch it. And it wasn't live at that point. And they ended up having to release it recorded the day later.
Oh, wow. So we won't we won't know if Tiffany and Brett are a forever couple.
You won't know until
Terrible.
How will we go on? Netflix, when they were relying on the DVD model, they had a really bizarre business reality, which was that they offered DVDs unlimited, but you could only have a certain number of at a time. You send them back, you get the new ones, and it was for a set price. And so for the most passionate users who watched the most movies, they lost money. And for the people who would sign up and almost never watch movies, those were the best customers because, of course, mailing incurs cost and time and employees and all that kind of stuff.
It's the Planet Fitness business model.
So they use algorithms to make sure that the people who were most active in requesting movies almost never got the movie they requested. And then the people who almost never use the service always got the movie they requested because those are the good customers. The good customers, the ideal customer would watch 3 movies a year and the worst customer would be really active. And
if I got the movie I requested, I'm not going to send it back till I watch it, which means I might have it for months. And literally these red envelopes would gather dust standing by the door because I was ready to mail it back, but I hadn't watched the movie yet. So they were this was actually brilliant. Brilliant plan. I was that person. I would get a movie and I would either forget to mail it back or I'd forget to watch it, and then I wouldn't be able to get another movie. And it worked.
Yeah.
It's going to be the apocalypse for adult content on the internet. Imager, which is one of the places people still to this day use to put adult content up and then post it elsewhere, is going to ban explicit images starting this month. That's the end of the line, I think, for a lot of sites.
Frankly, I'm surprised that they had lasted this long.
Yeah,
it's been
but you can always go to Tumblr, which now has brought back.
Images,
I think.
So I think the power in all this is Apple and Google, right? Because Apple will not let an app on that doesn't somehow control adult images. And the threat to get your app pulled off of Apple, especially Apple, I think Google doesn't care, but especially Apple is a big deal. That's why Tumblr initially banned explicit stuff, so that
I think yes, but also Apple is very fickle in how they choose to enforce that.
Totally, right?
I mean, like Reddit, Tumblr, Twitter, they all have adult content. They're still allowed.
You have to have so with Reddit apps, you have to have a switch that's by default off that says no adult content, or it's default on, I guess, no adult content. And then the kid goes, oh, well, let me switch that off. But Apple's satisfied with that, I guess.
I just don't understand why Apple would want to be the church lady of technology.
Yeah, somehow they become. What's the Steve Jobs quote?
I think it might be Steve Jobs, if I'm not misremembering. But it's like, if people want to look at porn, they can buy an Android.
Yeah,
or just use Safari. Surely.
Yeah, that's right. Your browser still does it. Yeah. Apple got I don't know because it's the Wall Street Journal, and sometimes I think the Wall Street Journal has it out for big tech companies because they feel like this hurt their business. Rupert doesn't like them, but. Big story. When Apple comes calling, it's the kiss of death. Aaron Tilley writing. And this is what, Mike, you remember this. This is what Microsoft was always accused of. If they saw technology they liked.
Apple accuses, right. They'd say, let me see this. Let me see the docs. Let me see the code. Let me see everything.
We're going to buy you. We're going to buy you.
Nah.
This is exactly what Amazon did for years.
Yeah.
Or was accused of doing.
Yep.
So.
Allegedly.
What happens when Apple is interested in a company? They invite the executives over. They talk about an acquisition. They say, let's see your technology. We got to do our due diligence. Then they decide not to do it. They steal. Then they poach employees and they steal the idea and do it themselves. Apple says it does not steal technology. It respects the intellectual property of other companies. In fact, they say that the example that the Wall Street Journal gives, which is a company that did an blood oxygen sensor called Masimo, They said they're copying us. And it's going to fight the claims in court. It did the same thing with Cardia, right? With the AFib monitor, which it eventually put into its watch. And they said Cardia stole the idea from them. Cardia says, no, wait a minute. I don't know. This is such a common thing in tech that I kind of inclined to believe the Journal in this case. They all walk that line, right?
Yeah.
All right. I hear Paris yawning, so I think it's time to go get some catnip.
Incredible.
Yep. I really appreciate you spending some time with us. Paris Martineau, theinformation.com. Her signal number is 267-797-8655. Give her a tip. Give her a scoop.
Just one little scoop is all I ask.
Not much. You're very
Not
humble.
even $8 a month. Just
nothing. Yeah.
A little bit of information for me.
Just a little. Thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure, Paris. Thank you.
Always great to be here.
Thank you, Nate Langson. Bloomberg.com. His new series, AI IRL, is a hit. You're going to do what, 12 episodes?
12 episodes, yep. First one went out last week with David Eagleman and others. We've got Neil deGrasse Tyson on the next episode coming out this week on Wednesday evening on Bloomberg TV and online everywhere, as in all the places you'd expect.
I cannot wait. I think that's fantastic. That's great. And you're still going to continue with your podcast, right?
Yeah. So text message I do in the spare time. Like my main job, I'm an editor at Bloomberg on the tech team. But I do the TV series and then I do text message outside of
Lovely.
That. So
lovely.
Yeah.
It's really
having me.
Really great to have you on. Thank you so much. Nate is still, to his eternal shame, on Twitter as Nate Langson. NATELANXON. It's okay. You could feel dirty while doing it. It doesn't, sometimes that adds a little something to it.
I feel dirty all the time. Not for always the same reasons.
Nate, it's a thrill. Thank you for coming on my return show. It's really nice to start with three smart people. Of course, Mike Elgin, as always, a great pleasure. Elgin.com, gastronomad.net if you want to go on those great trips Mike and Amira do.
Yes.
Highly recommend him. And, of course, he's on mastodon.social as Mike Elgin because he's a smart person. He's a good person. He's a kind person. And we already gave Kevin his Hello Chatterbox plug, but don't forget hellochatterbox.com. If you're a teacher or you want to teach your own kids at home what AI really is and who really is control. I love that idea, Paris. You left me with something very valuable in this show. It's about agency. Where does the agency lie? I think that's really good. Is it the ant?
And it's always a choice.
Or is it the cordyceps? It's always a choice.
Is it the wheat? Who's to say?
Who's to say? Is it the catnip or is it the cat? We don't know.
It is the cat.
It's always the cat.
Unfortunately, it is Gizmo.
I know. I live with two of them. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We do This Week in Tech on Sunday afternoons. I really want to thank the folks who took over for me. Jason Howell last week, right? Devinder Hardawar the week before that. And Micah Sargent the week before that. It's really nice to know that I can leave the show in great hands. Thank you, all three of you, for doing such a good job with the show. But I'm back. I did not leave. AI Leo lives forever.
Just to say, you're not going to throw a thank you in there for AI Leo?
AI Leo, thank you for a great job, AI Leo. Twit is every Sunday afternoon, 2 to 5 Pacific. That would be 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. That would be 2100 UTC if you want to watch live. You don't have to, but I give you those times so you can go to live.twit.tv and watch the sausage being made. If you're watching live, chat with us in IRC at irc.twit.tv or in the Club Twit Discord. After the fact, on-demand shows are available at our website, This Week in Tech, at twit.tv. There's a YouTube channel devoted to This Week in Tech. And, of course, you can subscribe on your favorite podcast. There's audio or video. You take your pick. It's great to be back. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next week. Meanwhile, another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye.